Yeah, ma'am, you can start the program.
Yeah, but I just wanted to know how many people have logged in. Are we only 12 people? Who's playing the video?
Ma'am, shall we start? Ma'am, Gauri will be playing.
Gauri will be playing, madam.
Okay.
The slide control Ishita is doing. I have given her few tips, so she will be doing that, and the video will be played by the purple team.
And how many people should we wait? There are only 10 of us, no?
And 12, yes, 10, 12.
Gauri is not answering. Gauri?
Gauri, you have to.
Yes, ma'am.
You have to take all the people in the meeting.
Yes, ma'am. I have.
Medico, non-medico, labor,
Yes.
everyone.
Yes, ma'am. I have done the setting. Anyone
Yeah,
can join the
because
meeting.
there are some women also who have been sent the link. So
Yes,
if
ma'am.
they are trying to log in, let them in.
Yeah, ma'am. Yeah.
So how will we know when to start? How many people we need to know? Na? Numbers, at least 30 people should be there. What do you say?
मैम सेटिंग तो सबके लिए ऑन है, आपको दिख ही जाएगा जैसे काउंट बढ़ेगा.
जैसे आ जाएंगे तभी वैसे
ये
हाँ.
ये जो 12 है इसी पे दिखेगा ना अभी
हाँ, हाँ.
पार्टिसिपेंट दिख रहे. ओके.
हाँ, हाँ.
तो हम
गुड इवनिंग सर. गुड इवनिंग माधुरी मैडम.
Good evening. Good evening. Good evening to all of you.
Good evening.
Good
Dr. Bipin,
Good
Dr.
evening, madam.
Bipin, Dr. Durusha,
Good, sir.
Vada, everybody over here.
Yeah, good evening, ma'am.
Good evening,
Ma'am, Suchitra Pandit madam has just messaged that she can take the lecture only after 5:30 because her PPT is not there with her.
Yeah,
She is
okay.
in the OT, so we'll take it accordingly.
So we can forward the other people who are speakers.
Yes,
You,
so we can.
you can call them that you have to be ready by this time.
Yes, yes.
Then we'll join at the time of their presentation. So just call them.
Okay, okay.
Hi, Supriya.
Ishita, have you noted that?
Yes, madam, I've noted that. So we will have to call Dr. Mandakini Naik, madam.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she will start the session to speak as speaker one earlier, ma'am.
Okay, okay.
And then in session 2 we will have the Suchitra Pandit madam's lecture and Geeta Balsarkar madam's lecture, right?
No, madam will take after Durusha ma'am and Meg ma'am. Geeta madam is ready with her lecture.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we'll go in that order.
So in second session, then the madams will be the first, no? Suchitra madam.
Yes.
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 Ma'am, when can we start?
Yeah, please. Let's start.
Okay. I would like to welcome one and all to, on behalf of President, Secretary and Treasurer of MOGS, along with Journal of Obstetrics and Gynecology India, for Let Us Talk, a live webinar on the International Day for Prevention of Violence Against Women on 25th of November 2024 from 4 p.m. And it is based on the WHO theme, which is Invest in Women and Accelerate the Progress. I would now like to call on Dr. Vijaya Babre ma'am. She is the convener for today's webinar, to call upon President Madam MOGS, Dr. Suvarna Khadilkar, Madam.
So, good evening, all. It is my privilege to introduce and welcome our beloved President, Dr. Suvarna Khadilkar. She is the President of Mumbai Obstetric and Gynec Society, a professor and head of department and consultant endocrinologist at the Bombay Hospital. She is a past president of Indian Menopause Society, and Madam has many international positions. Deputy Editor in Chief of International Journal of Gynec and Obstetrics, Chair FIGO Committee on Women at Menopausal Age since June 2024 onwards. She's a member of FIGO Committee on Women Health Care and member of corresponding editorial board, EOFOG and GORG. Then recognized teacher, endocrinology and University of South Wales, UK. So welcome you, madam, and please address presidential address.
Yeah, thank you so much, Vijaya. At the outset, I want to thank Dr. Madhuri Patel, Dr. Jaideep Tang for having this program jointly with MOGS. And I really appreciate Dr. Geeta Balsarkar's efforts in arranging this program. And I am really, really grateful for our, dignitary or legendary, you can say, Dr. Durusha, who has agreed to give a talk. I think a topic which is very close to her heart. And I'm very, very happy that she could find some time out and join for this particular webinar, which is we are organizing. And I'm thankful to all other speakers like Dr. Suchitra Pandit, Dr. Mandakini Mek, Dr. Geeta herself, and we have the whole panel of ignition. What does police and law see about violence against women? So I thank Dr. Supriya for and Dr. Tanya for agreeing to moderate this wonderful panel. And it's our pleasure and honor that we are having Advocate Malika Majlis, Dr. Bipin Pandit, Dr. Sonali Deshmukh, Dr. Madhava Prasad, and Mr. Abhinav Deshmukh, who is going to throw some light from the Department of Police, and we will know how they tackle such cases in this panel. And our conveners, Dr. Reena, Dr. Vijaya, and Dhaval have been working on this since last several days. International Day for Elimination of Violence Against Women is held every year on November 25th, and it's a global effort to stop violence against women and ensure their safety and rights. It was started in 1999 and it focuses on tackling unfair practices and beliefs that allow this violence to continue. The theme of the year, Unite, Invest to Prevent Violence Against Women and Girls. There is no excuse for this. This theme emphasizes the critical need for increased investments in preventive strategies to combat violence against women. Additionally, United Nations Secretary General's campaign highlights the alarming statistics that every 10 minutes a woman is killed, and and we, on the background of the recent happenings in Kolkata, we all are deeply hurt and disturbed with these happenings around us, and programs like this are going to help us. This marks the start of the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. They have declared and recommended to have activities for 16 days. But let me tell you, friends, that our activism started on 6th of April when I took over as president, and I announced one of the agendas to fight against women, to say no to violence against violence against and this started, and though we have already had 3 programs, this is the 3rd one. The first one we had a webinar earlier, and then second one was a physical program which we organized as a pre-conference workshop in September, in Bombay Hospital, and that particular program highlighted practical demonstration for self-defense. That is so important. And all the nurses and doctors, about more than 100, participated in that program. And today also we hope that more and more people join and take the advantage of expertise talking. And I had the webinar where all the survivors of the violence had participated, and they had shared their experiences without any fear. And that is what is important. Keeping up to this particular program theme, we have been having this activities, and I'm not going to end the activities on after 16 days. During my tenure, we'll keep organizing periodically these type of activities where we'll sensitize people for fighting against violence against women. And this theme is very close to the WHO's women's theme, that is invest in women, accelerate the progress, and it is very much close to that. And I'm sure I had heard Dr. Gurusha's lecture sometime ago at the AMWR conference, and it is so pertinent and important for this theme. Thank you so much, madam, for joining and agreeing to hold this. Now I'll request, our brand ambassador's message to be played, Miss Mary Com's message, which we always play as a source of inspiration to so many. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mary Com. You know me as an Olympic medalist, a boxer, and a politician, but above all, it's a beautiful feeling for me to be an empowering woman in this country. My story is an example of what a girl can believe if she is given the opportunity, support, and a level playing field. I want all girls to reach the heights that they aim for and to fulfill all the dreams. Unfortunately, in our country, many girls are deprived of this level playing field, which is their basic human right. It also saddened me to know that 1 in 3 women face violence in our country and globally. Violence against women acts as a big hurdle for all girls and women in reaching their full potential. We need to condemn and raise voice against this at every possible opportunity. Foxy works for health and welfare of women, rights and adolescents onwards. Dr. Suvarna Khadikar is an eminent gynecologist of Indian and Foxy and a good friend of mine. It made me happy to join this initiative with her. I appreciate the efforts of President Foxy, Dr. Jaideep Teng, Dr. Madhuri Patel, and Dr. Santha Kumari, past president of Foxy, towards women's health and safety, and that there is a Foxy community for no to violence against women. I congratulate once again Dr. Suvarna Khadikar, the Mumbai and Hyderabad Society of Foxy, for doing this program, and best wishes of Foxy for all these endeavors.
Thank you, madam, for those words. And now, shall we start with the scientific program? Dr.
Yes.
We are
Ishita?
to introduce chief guest, Dr.
Yes,
Gurusha.
Dr. Ishita, start
Yes,
the
ma'am.
program. Yeah.
Ma'am, thank you for the beautiful address which sets the tone for the webinar. I would now like to call upon the chairpersons for the first session, that is Dr. Madhuri Patel, madam, and Dr. Reena Vani, madam.
Yeah, Ishita, can we just have the address by the chief guest for today? Dr. Durusha ma'am, can you show her slides? And Dr. Madhuri Patel ma'am. I think you need to introduce them first and then we can start with the first session.
Yeah, good afternoon, Pradmin. This is Dr. Reena Vani.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
I kindly request ma'am to introduce the chief guest.
Yes, I would like to introduce our chief guest. Can we have Dr. Durusha's slide?
It's
Can we
already
have it?
there.
Yes, ma'am, it is on.
Well, it's my pleasure and privilege to introduce Dr. Durusha. Who doesn't know her? She's the director of Gynec World, panel gynecologist, a past president of Foxy MOGS, and the founder president of PCOS Society. She's the board member of Aspire, and she has had many accolades and prizes to her credit. If I actually read her full CV, I will take 5 or 10 minutes. But I would like to say, Madam is a truly inspiring, forever young person who inspires her with her dynamism. And she was the one who started the STAR program about the survivor treatment and rehabilitation in Foxy. And I think she's the right person to give us her words of wisdom on this topic. She has done a huge amount of work in this area. So we look forward to hearing Madam's words of wisdom in this topic. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can you all hear me and see my slides?
Yes,
Hello?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
See my slides, right?
Yes, ma'am, we can see you.
So today I will be speaking. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Suvarna and the MOGS team for having invited me to speak on this very important talk, which is extremely close to my heart. I thank you all for the invitation and I congratulate Suvarna for this endeavor, which she's taken up this initiative for the next 16 days, and I must congratulate her for it. I think it's a need of the hour, and I'm glad we start. So I'm going to speak today on empowering the adolescent, and let's start with the young. That's what I'm interested in, starting with them. So let's go back 160 years ago. And what really happened 160 years ago was the first Indian woman who was the first woman doctor who was sort of seen in India, and she was born in Pune in 1865. Her childhood was marred because her mother thought that it's important for her to understand what is torture. So she tortured her at home because she said once she gets married, she should get used to that torture when she goes to her in-laws' home. It was expected that she would not be treated very well when she went there, but it was part of getting her doctor to get that psyche in her and get ready for such punishment. She punished her with sticks and stones and even live charcoal. As tradition demanded, she got married at the age of 9 years to a man who was 17 years her senior, and she had her first child at 12 years through a complicated delivery, lost the child in 10 days, and could never conceive again. This was the story of her childhood. Now, this is something, then we go to what really happened during her adolescence. So when she got married, and this is something where her husband wanted to be in the strata of society wherein it was considered to be the uppermost part of society. So he wanted her to get educated, because in those days women who were educated were considered very up on the strata of society. So he hit her, he flung chairs at her, threatened to leave her while she was still a child. And this affected her both physically and mentally. And this was the story of her adolescence. And in order to serve women who were ill, to deliver them, she decided to become a doctor. And with the help of Mr. and Mrs. Carpenter in the US, and with the help of missionaries, her husband sent her to join the Women's Medical Council in Pennsylvania, USA. Here she trained for 3 years, became a doctor, and persisted with her cultural beliefs of eating only vegetarian food, wore a sari even in the cold weather, and refused to take Western medicine. This cost her her life because she became very ill and died of tuberculosis during the prime of her youth, and she died at the age of 22 years. She did not achieve her dream that she wanted to train more women doctors, because women in those days did not want to get delivered by male doctors. and therefore they were delivered by probably the women in the village, and that's how they had many complications. So while she was in the US, she wrote a letter to her husband. A Hindu woman has no right to utter a word or to advise her husband. I was born to endure all that. On the contrary, I have the right to allow my husband to do what he wants and what he wishes, and I must keep quiet. That's my right to keep quiet. And this is something which I find absolutely terrible. And these were the rights of young adolescents and young people of the past only 160 years ago. So let's switch back from 1865 to 2024 today. What's happening today? Adolescents in the world in 2024 are really caring about the world about them. They are using social media campaigns, they raise awareness about their existing rights. They have taken matters into their own hands and fighting for their cause. There are many examples of young girls I can give you who have fought for their rights in the recent years. The first one is an event of sexual abuse which happened 16th December 2012. It changed India. We all know that. It changed India. The young people got together, campaigned, and we know that she was only a 23-year-old paramedical intern who was gang raped by 6 men in a moving bus. Something similar happened in Kolkata in the hospital premises. And she was left to die on the streets of Delhi, and this created a huge outburst. And that social outburst by the adolescents led to the formation of the Nirbhaya Act. Now, this Nirbhaya Act was so important to us, and we realize that it is something which is a very, very strong act, which helps to get women the justice what they need after they have been sexually abused. So coming to the other right, the right to education for girls, the story of Malala Yousafzai, who came from Pakistan, and she was the one who was attacked for going to school. A single bullet went through her head and neck and shoulder. She was in a critical condition, moved to the UK for treatment because she was fighting for the right of education for girls in Pakistan. She survived this attack, and in 2014 received the Nobel Peace Prize at the age of 17 years. Now she's a prominent activist for the right of education of women globally. So right to education became a right which she fought for, and she's the youngest Nobel Prize laureate in history, the second Pakistani and the only Pashtun to receive a Nobel Prize. She's a human rights advocate, and she's been fighting for it, mainly where the Pakistani Taliban at times banned girls from attending school. And they have also celebrated, the United Nations have also celebrated Malala Day as a day when every woman, every boy, and every girl who have raised their voice for their rights, that day is dedicated to all of them, and it's called the Malala Day. Now we also have another situation, violence against women in India, where we are looking at Lakshmi Agarwal, who's an acid attack, a person who was attacked by someone throwing acid on her face. Now, she advocated against acid attacks and went through with a petition to curb acid sales, taking the cause to the Indian Supreme Court. And this young girl, you see her face, totally scarred. And she's currently Lakshmi, the founder and president of the Lakshmi Foundation, an NGO dedicated to acid attack victims. So you see, there are different kinds of attack a young girl goes through. She goes through sexual abuse, she goes through domestic violence, she goes through acid attacks because she rejected the boy who did not want to marry her, whom she did not want to marry, and he threw acid on her face. Is that right? It's totally wrong. It's harming a woman no end. And in 2019, she was honored with the International Women Empowerment Award by the Ministry of Women and Child Development and by UNICEF for her campaign to stop acid sale. And that has been passed as a law by the government of India. In 2014, she received the International Women of Courage Award from Michelle Obama, the First Lady President of the USA in the past. Now, so we must look at the scene as to what's happening to our adolescents. As a global community, we have spent the last century trying to address childhood and maternal health. We have focused on that. When I was a Foxy president, I spoke to the minister, and he said, oh, we are focused currently only on childhood, on neonates and maternal mortality. We want to reduce that first, and then we will address something else. But that's the time we really started focusing on the adolescents, and we have been focusing on doing that. And now, in doing so, we have been sort of forgetting the adolescents. So we have now, all of us, woken up and decided to focus on the adolescents. If you look at the adolescents in India, India has about 58 million adolescents with an average age of 29 years, more than any other country. They form 25% of the entire population in the country, including 26% boys and 25% girls. So it's basically not only adolescents, it's even the youth in this country, which we are counting together, equivalent to the combined populations of Japan, Germany, and Spain. India needs to ensure that they become productive adults, and therefore, with a fifth of the world's workforce which we have, we are all in the right direction. We have got the youngest population in the world, and we need to focus on their health. Because if we focus on their health, it's finally going to help the growth of our country. So this is something we are looking at, where we compare the past to the current. In the past, there was total undernutrition, lack of education, incomplete information on reproduction, in limited contraceptive use except condoms, increasing unsafe abortions because abortion was still not legalized, early marriages, pregnancies, pelvic infections due to untreated infections. And today again we are unhealthy in the current scenario. 160 years later, our children, our adolescents are overnourished, there's obesity, there's academics, huge academics, but incorrect information on reproduction. Low information on contraception. Even the couples who see me today in my office have not, heard of anything besides condoms and oral contraceptive pills. Multiple sexual partners are the day today, with women having more than 3 to 4 sexual partners before they settle down. And therefore, there's increasing sexually transmitted infection, increasing abortions, increased smoking, alcohol, drug abuse. So there's a lot of unhealthy population which is growing, which is going to affect the future of our country. So when we took up this issue, when I was a vice president of Foxy, I felt, when my young girls were young, and I felt their contemporaries didn't know much about reproductive and sexual health, I took it upon myself to start in 2001 as vice president of Foxy with 1,000-strong Foxy trainers, which we created all over the country. We ran the program called Growing Up for about 10 years, and we taught to educated millions of adolescents on puberty, menstrual hygiene, contraception, reproductive and sexual health. And this was through a WHO program which we conducted for 5 days, supported by WHO. These trainers then went on to get more trainers and more trainers. And I'm happy to tell you some of those WHO trained trainers are now being used by WHO to train people all over the world. Globally, they are going around training others. Now, this Growing Up program was a true icebreaker. And with that, we were able to go to the government and talk to them. When I was the president of Foxy, I took up this cause of the year of my year of 2006, which I was a president, and we called it the year of the adolescent, or the year of the youth, making the majority our priority. And with the feedback which we had got over the 5 or 6 years before that, from the time we started the Growing Up program, we took it to the government, and then in 2007, it became part of the school curriculum and introduced in schools, because till then, it was difficult to introduce in schools until this government was convinced that this was a much needed program. We also started a youth-friendly health clinic that offered preventive healthcare, promotive healthcare, curative healthcare, and referral services for adolescents and youth. And this was done in, it was called Kishori, and it was carried out in Dharavi with the help of UNICEF, who gave us the whole program, combined it with the Sion Hospital, wherein the doctors from Sion Hospital, Suchitra Pandit was with us at that time. and we conducted programs for the girls there. And we also taught them a lot of skills so that they could be empowered. You can see that during this period, another lot of interesting things happened. It was Melissa Burton, a producer, who produced a 26-minute documentary film in India on menstrual hygiene. And she signed off her acceptance speech when she got the Oscar award for it. She said, "A period should end a sentence, not a girl's education." I thought that was a fantastic statement to make, and this is something which has really taken off. At the same time, film stars like this gentleman, I'm forgetting his name. He had created awareness on reproductive sexual health by coming up with a movie called Padman. And there
Akshay Kumar.
Akshay Kumar, thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
I was going to tell another name which I felt was wrong, and that's why I stopped short. And therefore, promoting awareness on menstrual hygiene through Bollywood films like Padman helped to improve sanitation. It increased the awareness. The film went absolutely viral all over the country, and that's how women started, or girls started, using sanitary napkins instead of using unhealthy cloth and unhealthy material for their menstrual hygiene. So coming to violence against women, by violence against women, we've already said that at Foxy we created the program called STAR, which is Survivor Treatment, Advocacy and Responsibility. This program was built on actually training about 40 physician gynecologists from Foxy. We had the experts from forensic medicine, legal system, judiciary, police, etc., giving the talks, the gynecologists. And we conducted these workshops, and we created this 40 trainers, and they went ahead and we tried to introduce these workshops, which were for 3 hours. And the most important thing in this was we followed the Nirbhaya Act curriculum. Whatever data was to be collected, whatever material you require for collecting evidence, because today, not today, but many years ago, the patients girls who were sexually abused were sent to the government hospitals, because as private practitioners we were not allowed to collect evidence. So many girls did not get justice only because the evidence was not correctly put down. Through the Nirbhaya Act, everything was, the whole protocol was in place. And we got a little box made with all the protocols, all the swabs required, all the kits, like a kit, and gave it to people at different workshops so that they could keep one kit in their hospital. If they came across a girl who's abused, they could immediately, actually it's mandatory for a physician to collect evidence. And therefore we introduced this scheme, this information all over the country, so that physicians know that if they get such a patient coming to them or a girl coming to them, they need to take the evidence. It is mandatory for them, otherwise it's considered as a criminal act if you don't. And therefore it became very important to train the doctors on the subject. And this was important because through this program, the 2-finger test was completely banned. So keeping all this in mind, I started my own foundation called Women's Empowerment Foundation, where we looked at engagement, empowerment, and encouragement. We imparted knowledge on adolescent reproductive and sexual health through digital means and physical means. And we talked about offering them empowerment through skills of self-sufficiency, confidence building through training them on computers, English, self-defense. And we created youth-friendly centers called the Kishori Manch. And this is something we have been doing. And if you see the pictures in this, how the girls are taught self-defense, the girl on the top is fighting 2 guys. She's undergoing a demonstration. And this was the most important program. We took the girls with us on the marathon. They enjoyed themselves and trained about 30 plus girls, who then ended training thousands of girls. We had an excellent program going on in Dharavi. Unfortunately for us, the COVID came along and we had to stop the program for some time. And therefore, we then converted it into Metropolis Foundation, which is now being run by us with a similar agenda. In India, parents and teachers are too shy to talk to children about reproductive sexual health, and adolescents are on the internet for sexual information. So we created an app called Too Shy to Ask, and young people use it to get the correct information in their own private space. That's extremely important for a woman. So in short, the girls are very shy to ask. The parents are not telling them anything because they're shy to talk. It's cultural fabric of our country. But through this app, we are able to reach out to millions of women, girls, and young adolescents all over the country through the App Store and Play Store, free to download, 5 languages. We talk everything to them on reproductive sexual health, nutrition, exercise, vaccinations, gender violence, rights of the adolescent, women's rights, parents' corner, and whatever you may have. I encourage all of you to use this. It's got no personal agenda over here. There's no name. It's purely educational and it's purely good for the young people. Recently, somebody assessed the various apps which are available all over the world with the same information on reproductive and sexual health. And there are about 2,700 such apps, out of which they identified 1,761 apps. And then finally came down to 8 apps which were very important. And we found that Too Shy to Ask app was considered as one of the apps with a great scores. And if you look at the thing, you Too Shy to Ask came with a rating of 4.1 out of 5. And you see the other apps down there. So I was very proud and happy to say that we had a great review with the app, and it's giving good information through medical sources. As a gynecologist and along with my colleagues, Dr. Sapla and Dr. Gurnani from UNICEF, we have been working on this very heavily. And when it comes from the medical creditable field, the content has to be good and it has to be correct. And therefore, it's something which we are very happy to share with everyone and see how people react to it. So let's see how the digital revolution has affected the adolescents. We know that the way adolescents learn today is mainly through in the past 15 years. If you look at how people have learned everything, if you see if you go back into time, you see radio took 38 years to reach 50 million people, telephone 20 years, television 30 years, the World Wide Web 4 years, Facebook 3.6, Twitter 3 years, iPads 2 years, and Google just 88 days. So everyone is on it, both in the rural and the urban sector. And we must realize that the adolescent brain has plasticity. It's got plasticity so that this is a lifelong process. And we must remember that early in when the child is younger, they take in much more. And we must remember that as you grow, the humans have a better advantage because they are under parent protection. And therefore, it gives them the advantage of protracted plasticity. The brain does not mature any longer post-puberty, but it starts getting, it doesn't grow larger. It just grows by maturing more specialized. So every part of the brain gets more specialized, and the gray matter volume peaks at about 11 years of age in girls and 13 years in boys. Now, as the brain matures, the coordination of the brain activity increases, and the coordination increases through myelin in the nerves. But increase in myelin, the more myelin you produce, decreases the plasticity. The adolescent brain is purely adaptable and it adapts to the environment. And I think parents who think that their children are multitasking should understand that their brain is so adaptable. They can do 3 things at a time, which we cannot do at our age. And this revolution has gone all over the world, establishing their independence, identity, socializing with peers. But unfortunately, all do not have access to this medium. Women in India have a different status completely. It depends where she's born, the girl, whether she's born in the urban sector or the rural sector. We must realize that the rural sector we are totally neglecting. That digitally we can reach out to them, but unfortunately, the girls in those places where we go physically, they don't have mobile phones. So they are dependent on their parents, and therefore we go physically in the rural areas through NGOs, we reach out to young people. There is a SDG Gender Index, Sustainable Development Goal Index. And this is a joint effort of regional and global organizations, including the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. It accounts for 14 of the 17 MDGs, such as poverty, health, etc. Now, if you see, 1.4 billion girls and women live in countries that get a very poor score. No country has achieved an excellent score of more than 90 or above, which includes the US, and nobody has received that score as of today. But we must remember that the more information we give our children, we give our adolescents, is going to help the country. Because this revolution of the fourth industrial revolution, which fuses the physical, digital, and biological fears together through advanced technologies like internet, artificial intelligence, blockchain, robotics, etc. All this together involves adolescents and youth in the growth of our country. Country's economy will increase. Partnerships and policies should involve them, preparing them for developing skills, keeping them healthy by preventing obesity, reproductive infections, and giving them adequate nutrition and exercise. I think this is important for us as doctors, as physicians. We must keep them healthy by preventing this, which is unfortunately the current bane of our country. So with a large workforce, which we have workforce in the right direction, our youth will benefit. Our country has jumped from the 39th rank from the 81st rank in 10 years of the Global Innovation Index. And this is the index by the manufacturing unit, and it's a win-win situation for our young who will get huge jobs and a huge economy, and therefore being the sixth largest and fastest growing largest economy in the world, we will be able to have a better better outcome if our children, if our adolescents remain healthy. So we need to focus on them. This dip which you see is only during the COVID years. Everything is flipping back to normal. And this is where we are looking at that we must bring in the adolescents in the period of this digital revolution. They want a better future for the world they live in. Involve them in our programs, get their advice from them. They want their rights to gender equality, and they want to be involved in the decision making. Meeting the world's challenges will require the entire world's brain power. Unexploiting half of the talent pool is just silly. This is told by the president of the Rensselaer Polytechnic Institution, speaking at the fourth industrial revolution, that by not exploiting our female youth, we are losing half of our talent pool, and that is being very silly. I was at the G20 meeting as one of the advisors to the civic arm of G20, and this is where I have told them we need to do something about the obesity by introducing exercise in schools for at least 1 hour every single day, because the parents are focusing only on the academics. The second thing I have said is avoid serving any unhealthy food in the school canteens and for birthday parties. And the third is I have told them that we need to have enough availability for our PCOS girls and PCOS women, because they are a high risk for diabetes, and we need to get them under our cover, as high risk and diabetes being very high in our country, we need to avoid it. So we are working towards it, and I welcome you all to join our society and be with us on during the campaigning for violence against women. So this is how I would like to end my talk. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you very much, madam. It's a pleasure and privilege to listen to you and hear about your personal journey and so much up-to-date information about where we are in India and the world today. And we are really grateful you could join us today. And I will hand over to my co-chairperson, Dr. Vijaya Babre, to introduce our other chief guest, Dr. Madhuri Patel. Thank you very much, madam.
Yeah, thank you very much. I hope you don't mind, but I'd like to log off as I've got my patients waiting.
Duru, I just want to make one comment. If you remember, when you were the president of Foxy, that time government of Maharashtra has done a lot of training with Foxy, WHO training which you mentioned. So we could take a lot of Foxy members also for the training, for the 3-day training to the Lonavala. So I just want to that if you remember.
That was for the staff of the government of India. Right?
But we took
Yes,
members also.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much for reminding me.
I thought I must, recollect what we did.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Durusha.
So, thank you.
Dr. Geeta Balsarkar, yeah, that was really very wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, Geeta. Thank you for inviting.
So now it's my privilege to introduce our chief guest, Dr. Madhuri Patel. She is a Secretary General Foxy, Editor-in-Chief Jogi, and committee member Figo Pritam Bhatt. So, Madam, please address us. Welcome you to the program.
Thank you, Vijaya, for your kind words. Respected Dr. Jaideep Tang, our President Foxy, Dr. Suvarna, our President MOGS and the Deputy Secretary of Foxy, Dr. Geeta, who is Emeritus of Jogi as well as the Secretary of MOGS, Dr. Sujata, and just now we heard our chief guest and the speaker, Dr. Durusha Madam, and Dr. Suchitra Pandit, Dr. Mandakini Maik, Dr. Reena Vani, panelists Advocate Mallika Majlis, Dr. Bipin Pandit, Dr. Sonali Deshmukh, Dr. Madhva Prasad, Dr. Abhinav Deshmukh, and the moderator Dr. Supriya Arwari and Pragna Changade, convener Dr. Reena Vani, Dr. Vijaya Bamre, Dr. Dhaval, and all my dear friends. Very good evening to all of you. In 2014, the United Nations General Assembly has designated November 25th as the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. The date is based on the date of the 1960 assassination of the three Mirabal sisters' political activities in the Dominican Republic, when killing was ordered by Dominican dictator Rafael Trujillo. So we know this day has been observed to raise the awareness around the world that women are subjected to the rape, domestic violence, and other form of violence, including physical as well as the verbal. So the aim is to eliminate and prevent the violence against women. Madam Durusha took us to the journey of the adolescence. She talked right from Anandibai, Dr. Anandibai 160 years back. Then she talked about Nirbhaya in 2012, where Nirbhaya Act was founded, passed, Pakistani Malala. Then Women Right Advocate Malala Day is also observed. In India, Lakshmi Agarwal NGO, who was an acid victim, she had courage to do all the, against the girls, to violence against women, working about it. And Madam Durusha has really started she has revolutionized the youth during her presidential year. Not only that, before that also. And she talked about, she has made a youth-friendly health clinic, and the Kishori program was the most, program which was, congregated by many of our people, which was in Sion Hospital. And I think today also some part of it is going. She talked about menstrual hygiene, how important it is. And Akshay Kumar, the Padman, he talked about the movie which has really made even in rural area to use the pads during the menstrual hygiene. So these are the very important thing. And she talked about the STAR program workshop educating on gender violence and Women's Empowerment Foundation which she has started. So this is really giving boost to all our girls, not only girls, but many of the women who are in the youth after that also getting the boost, and they are utilizing this platform for their well-being. And I'm very happy that she has also said they've started an app, Too Shy to Ask. So through app, many of the girls, they ask us the question and we really fulfill their question answers, and they are very satisfied. So this whole world with the app, digital app, is going to revolutionize adolescent in their rights, and we are empowering, and we are going to empower our girls and the women. And now let me go back to our Foxy, that Dr. Shanta Kumari. She started Dhira No to Violence Against Women in 2015. Dhira means all girls and women should have courage to say no to violence against women. And this she went to Figo and it has been accepted all over world. Dhira, no to violence against women. So this movement is really, really encouraging to all our girls and women. Then when she became a Foxy president and I was the secretary general to her. We started the program on again Dhira to no to violence against women with WHO, and we did many school programs where school programs we teach boys and girls both right from that tender age when we tell the boys that this is not good, your mother must be beating your father must be beating your mother, that is not acceptable. Otherwise, what they think, my father used to beat, my mother. That means it is normal. I should also beat my wife and sister. So we are teaching even the boys right from beginning of their, tender age that this is violence and you cannot do violence to your sister, wife, mother, or anybody. And therefore, there were so many schools program we conducted. We also taught girls that what is the good touch, what is the bad touch, and all these things the girls should know, and this was incorporated in a school program, and this is also going very well all over India. And then after that we formed in Foxy one committee, what you call as No to Violence Against Women. Then those are the activities are also going very well in Foxy. And today on this International Day of No to Violence Against Women, we are really celebrating here on this digital platform, which is to the wide reach to all our world women and the adolescents. So with this, I would like to mention that, as Madam has said, empower, educate, and encourage the women. So I really congratulate Dr. Geeta, Dr. Suvarna, Dr. Sujata, and the Jogi team for the most apt webinar. And I wish all of you the best luck. The reason of we are uniting Jogi along with MOGS is that Jogi also have a many article no to violence against women. So I request you can go through this article and you can learn and you can implement many things from that. And at the end, we know I always like to quote Nelson Mandela that education is the best weapon when used can change the world. So let us educate our girls and women and give them best from our side as a doctor. Thank you once again for giving me this opportunity.
Dr. Madhuri, ever since I have taken over as the editor-in-chief of Jogi, we have been celebrating both March 8th as Women's Day as well as International Prevention of Violence to Women from Journal. The journal has also been celebrating these 2 days. I have had, panel discussions and various programs along with the Springer team and the other people. So I'm happy that you have decided to continue this particular thing. But what I feel that Journal of Obstetrics and Gynec reaches each and every Foxian. So in the month of November, we should have at least, if not invited or some form of article on this prevention of violence against women. So where we are working towards it, it's not on the big changes that we make, but the small changes that we make, that is also very important. So I feel the November issue of the journal should have something pertaining to that, either the guidelines or somebody's article or maybe even what Dr. Durusha has written. I'm sure, it's really very informative for all our Foxy members. So I want you to think about it and see how we can change the journal to adapt to this.
Sure, Geeta. If possible, we'll definitely include the article. Thank you.
I would like to now call Dr. Vijaya Babri ma'am to introduce Dr. Mandakini Meg ma'am for the first as the first speaker for the second session.
Can I have the Madam CV? Yeah. It is my privilege to introduce Mandakini Meg Madam. Actually, Madam doesn't require any introduction. All of us know her so well. She is a chairperson ICOG Foxy, then National Vice President of Foxy in 2012 and 13. Then International Vice President MWI Central Asia, Vice President MWI Central Council, and Madam has various positions nationally and internationally. So welcome you, Madam, and over to you.
May I start sharing the presentation? Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So once again, thank you very much, MOGS. Am I audible? Hello?
Yes, madam.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
You're
ma'am.
audible.
I'm just little not well, na, so I thought maybe. Many of you must be present for yesterday's AMWA program, and this oration was delivered, and I have taken many of the parts from that oration yesterday, and this was on the workplace violence against women and what exactly remedies we can do. And it was fortunate for me also that Geeta, our convener here, and she was also giving the oration. So Geeta, it was wonderful with you. And many of you, I think Rina will say that, Madam, we have heard you, but for the people who really want to know the latest guidelines and, rules and regulations and acts, it will be definitely going to help them. So in the ancient times, we have already know that the Manu, who was a saint, he has said that Dhol, Gawar, Shudra, Pashunari, Sab hai Tadan ke adhikari. It means drums, the illiterate, the lower caste, animals and women. So how they were treating the women. And since the centuries, it was deeply penetrated, as Dr. Durusha and other people have mentioned, that it is in the deep psychology of the men of the society in India that they like to treat the women as a secondary. Now coming straight to the subject, workplace violence. I think I need not repeat the Kolkata, Delhi, stabbing, murder, so many things. Once you open the newspaper in the morning, essentially this kind of news is on the front page, and we are very much troubled by looking at the paper. So workplace violence is again a very big challenge for us apart from the domestic violence. And violence in healthcare is about 70% of the medical staff or nurses. They worry about the workplace violence. 7 out of 10 physicians said that the violence in the emergency department is increasing. And 80% said that the incidents has harmed the patient care because of their, because they are all the time worried. 20% higher chances of the healthcare workers to have 20% higher chance of being the victim of the workplace. Because as soon as you give the news, or even they are brought on the, stretcher, and a patient dies on the stretcher so many times, and they start beating the doctor, they start taking the revenge on the doctor, the poor doctor who is trying to survive or, give treatment to the patient becomes himself or herself the victim. So that is a tragedy of our 35% doctors in India feel unsafe while at work. I think all of us, many of us who have done the residency in big hospital, municipal hospital, see the corridors. I remember in the hospital itself, I used to go by the car to the front door because there was so much darkness while going by the, by walking. And it was very, I used to get very fearful atmosphere in blackish corridors there. So 2 of the in the 3 healthcare workers experience violence and harassment at the work. So these are a few figures. Figures will also keep on increasing unless until we really do something for the doctors and physicians and medical staff. So this kind of incidences is just the tip of the iceberg, a sign of much larger problem below the surface, and that we all know. As United Nations, Dr. Duru has also mentioned that declaration of elimination of violence against women. And after that, Geeta, everybody, Madhuri, everybody said, we in our agenda every year, all the organizations, we are having this Dhira project. So many things, awareness has been brought, training has been given. Government is coming forward for giving training. When I was in Mantralaya, we have started in the municipal hospital, this with the Sehat. 4 places we have started the program, giving them the, examination, sexual kit and all. And we were experimenting how we can, each and every doctor can have that kind of kit in their consulting room, so that they should not go from here and there to see what exactly smear has to be taken. Dr. Duru has already mentioned that time only the government hospital, like in Kama, JJ, AM, they used to examine the sexual offenses cases, rape cases. And we were supposed, I was in Kama, we were supposed to attend the courts all the time because the cases were going on for 3 to 4 years, 5 years, 6 years. And the evidence were quite weak because the patients were brought very late and we were not able to, produce that kind of evidence. And they were scot-free for doing another kind of, round of the crime. That was the scene. Now the scene has already changed, much better, but still it is there. So violence against women is an obstacle to the achievement of the objective of equality, development, and peace. It both violates, impairs, and nullifies the enjoyment of a women, their human rights, and fundamental freedom. Now, coming to the violence at the workplace, in the era of a remarkable progress and innovation, it is troubling to see how the treatment of women is advanced as swiftly. Perception of women continues to be stereotype ingrained in the society about the acceptable behavior. So many times nurses or even female relatives, if somebody is making a remark or some kind of, things, they say, okay, okay, chalta hai. That kind of behavior, acceptable behavior is still going on. Despite the policy reform, growing awareness, women still encounter innumerable challenges, threaten their sense of security, well-being at the work. The policies alone have not been enough to ensure the women's safety at work. As women break barriers to influential this thing across the sector, so organization must recognize the challenges surrounding them and mainly creating safety. Women in the workplace will encounter many challenges, like a typical concern of the physical safety. To address this problem, it is essential to understand the specific challenges, and we will discuss. So now, if looking at the what is the source, when actually the violence can occur, we all know that giving a wrong, a wrong person or a junior person giving information to the relative that the patient is dead. So nowadays we have formed the committees. We know the spokesperson from the side of the hospital that they will only break the news. Only one person will tell about the condition of the patient, so on and so forth. But in earlier days, we were busy, managing the patient. Somebody used to go nursing staff, and they used to, tell the patient about the actual what is happening inside. So this kind of triggers are there, like sources that employees, former employees, customer, criminals, terrorists. I remember, I can't, everybody recalls that, when I was a superintendent of the Kama hospital, that time, at the time of 1:20 p.m. afternoon lunchtime, immediately the bomb blaster took place in that, cotton exchange area, Kama hospital, GT. We were having hordes of dead bodies. It was chaos all over. And I don't know how we could manage. But this kind of violence is also we have faced. It's not a simple violence, but it's a horrible things. And also the Kasab also thing happened in the Kama hospital. So I think we all should be ready, not only for the for safety of the staff, but even on a bigger issue like earthquakes or the violence which is occurring at in a very different level, that is at the terrorist level also. Beating, stabbing, suicide, shooting, rapes, and violence by the co-workers. Then the patients and personal relation officers and strangers. So these are the sources of violence. Now, what does trigger the violence? So anything, wrongly said, laying off, suppose the employee is laid off, or thrown out of the service, he will come in the night, shout at the staff. It is very common at the general hospitals. Firing, bad behavior, poor performance review. We try to give them confidential report, which is a B grade report, C grade report. I myself have seen so many times that juniors, they were not up to the mark, and they were giving back to the higher officials. Then the conflict with the co-workers, customer interaction, domestic violence, just now said, and alcohol, drug abuse. And there are many corners in the hospital. In Gamma Hospital, we had a generator room. I used to tell all my RMOs, all my juniors, while taking evening round or metron also, please go to that generator room. That is the seed of where the crime can occur. And fortunately, in my time, there was no crime, at least because everybody in the round, they used to go to the generator room, which was very dark and also on a different, side of the hospital. So this kind of things, one has to be careful. Statistics at the workplace, it is also, this is around 11.1, this is American data. Assaults, threat, violence, aggravated assaults, and the robberies, rape, and sexual assaults are around 51,000. This is from the ELCOT study of the HR group. Now, the economic impact of the violence. What happens once the violence occurs? They lost the manure, they lose the job, they lose the wages, and it is again a great burden on the family itself, and for the person, and for the hospital itself is a great burden. And because of the violence, so many working days are lost, and the wages are also lost. So lost productivity, legal expenses. I remember in again my this thing that one of the surgeons, she fell down in the OT because, it was slippery and the patient was serious. So she went very quickly, fell down. So she has given us the notice of around 53 lakhs rupees that we have to pay immediately, and we all are responsible for this. So even as a head of the institute or senior position, you have to be very careful that how your, the junior staff works for the, and how they keep the safety of the surgeons and in mind, and they don't behave in a very restless manner. So, and now this is a 9th August Kolkata murder. I will not say because everybody knows, but I really want to mention here that I am the this Vice President Central Asia, and I am National President of Association Medical Women of India. Swarna is General Secretary, Geeta is there. So many people are there in the AMWA. And what is most important is this was a Central Asia meeting on 22nd August. And the Apex Institute, which is based in the New York, the president herself told, Mandakini, we have to write to the United agencies, we have to write to the United Nations, because our MWI is affiliated with the WHO, United Nations, and see how nicely we have come out with this statement, and it was given to all the international agencies as well as to the government, and they took a very serious note of it. Like Medical Women International Association, Medical Association strongly condemned, Pakistan was also there, strongly condemned the heinous incidents occurred in the RG Medical College, Kolkata. We stand in solidarity and demand justice, and we call on the government of India and all other governments, United Nations, to support the optional protocol and to eliminate violence and prevention of all forms of violence, women especially on duty. So this is the this thing. Now looking at the Lancet report, Lancet has mentioned that the crisis of safety and female workers in India needs reform. Whatever is there, it is not enough actually. So it needs reform, and there has to be structural roots of violence against female health workers. So it is the need of the hour, as we all see. So what kind of different violences we can have, will be having? That is a most important is sexual harassment. So sexual harassment victim for the workplace harassment. There is a act already. We know that there is a act of the sexual harassment, prevention of sexual harassment act is there. I won't go in the detail because it's all available. You can go see that. But in the sexual harassment continues to still haunt the working place, and which exponentially on the how can companies expect the women employee to thrive with their fundamental right if they are not safe. Then this particular picture I like because so many times our juniors in orthopedic department and other departments, they say their seniors are actually physically also they are being a little violent, or they are giving the physical the assault also at so many places. So I think this is also a very grievous thing, and the seniors should not do such kind of acts for their juniors. Harassment has been one of the central factors contributing to the emotional trauma. Atmosphere will be hostile, and simply having superficial policies without effective thoroughly implementation does. Now the second is physical assault. Physical sexual harassment and the physical assault, I think I talked enough about it. So the physical assault may be there, and what are the triggers which we have already talked. Then we have increased injury risk. Women face higher injury risk due to the inadequate safety measures. But if they go to their superiors, I think we have seen the examples of many municipal hospital or government hospital where the girls are going complaining to the dean, but they are not actually taking cognizance. In so many cases we have seen negligence by the authority. We should never neglect even a smallest kind of complaint, and for that the dean or any higher person should not be there. There is a committee, there is a chairman of the committee, and they can go, and there are 4 or 5 members, so they can go right and feel free to actually tell about their whatever problems they are having. Then discrimination and harassment, irrespective of how progressive workplace is there, it is still rampant everywhere. Women have consistently been facing subtle and other forms of biases in the society. This discrimination harassment goes beyond feeling of superficial. So the safety is the key to productivity. It unlocks the door to a thriving and secure work environment. We have to see to it. Then fifth is the bullying and intimidation. So many places we see there is they bully, they lower the morale of the workers, the medical staff support the collaboration and poor company culture. Now this is the limited opportunity. The co-worker who is a male, they are promoted. The co-workers who are, gender inequality is seen all over. And yesterday I was mentioning in that or my oration that you can see even at the highest level of bureaucracy since 61 years, no IAS officer was made chief secretary. She is the first chief secretary, Sujata Saunik, who made, though they were all capable, though they were all having the qualifications, but no one, even in a progressive state like Maharashtra. Even in the health department, I think you all will agree with me, it is very difficult to break the barrier and go to the upper level. When I was superintendent command due for the promotion, they all used to say, no, aap log surgery acha karte, you be there in the clinical. They never wanted us to come to the policy level. They never wanted us to come to the decision making level, and still I fought, and we went ahead. So what I'm trying to say, there should be a policy which should be gender equality, and it should not be anything to do with the gender of the person. Then work life balance, we all understand what kind of balance we are doing. So women are under the stress, they face burnout, they seek support, they want something soothing when they come for the work. So instead of soothing or very good atmosphere, they face again this harassment or the mental pressure, and also this has to be solved. Now then pregnancy and maternity leave. The pregnancy is a celebration of life, but why women are made to pursue motherhood is not compatible with the career growth. You remember that in MWA National Conference in Boxy office, which we took, Medha Gadgil, who is the Chief Justice of the Maharashtra Administrative Tribunal, she told that She dealt with one case where the pregnant this officer was denied the promotion, and she took a very good judgment, very good judgment that she should be given a promotion and she should not be left out, and that was a very unique judgment given by her. So pregnancy and maternity leave also, and so many people's behavior changes. Even the manager, 60% they think negatively, 15% they held back from the promotion. So these are the things. And lack of support system at home because of the nuclear families, because of so many problems. So we have to train the employees. Training should go on simultaneously in the HR department or our other departments so that everybody remains alert. We have to create a culture of respect and inclusivity. We have to encourage the open communication between the employee and management. We used to take regular staff meeting, class 4, class 3, nurses, and there are so many problems they get solved instead of bringing morcha to our office all the time. It is a very good system that you take meetings, and because of the meeting, at least 30 to 40% problems will be solved. So everybody in the hospital, we have this sexual harassment policy. Geeta, you can tell me the time? Huh? I don't know how much time I have. 5 minutes, eh?
Yes, madam.
Yes, madam. 5 minutes you can take care.
Okay. That is why, because having a sexual harassment policy, we have an act, Sexual Harassment Act in the place. So it is our duty to actually implement that act if you are in the position of authority. So sexual harassment, explain the zero tolerance, create our awareness among the employees, and encourage the women to express. They should not keep quiet. So they have to create supportive environment, encourage open communication, and role of human resource department is very major. They can have, I have already said that they can have meetings, they can solve the problems, and then only they can bring it to the senior doctors. Internal complaints committee has to be there, and they should feel free to address and give their, even in writing, and they should not later on singled out and harass more if they give the complaints in writing. There should be leadership accountability in women's safety. We have to have safe transportation. Yesterday also I was telling in Kama hospital, we had this telephone operator everywhere. So they do 7 to 11 night. And after 11, she goes to Thane in the train alone. I said, well, madam, what can we do? We are having this kind of duty. So many people are, the mothers, young mothers, they are doing assembly duty, and they are held up to 11 o'clock because LAQ has to be answered. So I made very clear to the male employee that male employee will stay, and all the female employee will, whatever it may be, they will go by 7 o'clock, even if there is any major, work into the this director of health services. So maternity and paternal support, provide mental health support, gender pay equality and fair treatment has to be given. And this is a training which we are conducting. Geeta will know. This is Medical Women International. I am the global training director. We are by country wise, we are conducting the program, this training program for all the doctors. We are conducted in Zambia, Bangkok, this is Central Asia, then Pakistan, and we are covering many countries. And we are not only for the females, but for the males also, we are giving the advocacy to men and boys for eliminating the violence. I think Geeta in her oration yesterday also mentioned about the male participation is so important because we cannot in isolation discuss, but male has to be part of our programs. And these are the various acts which Dr. Duru has already mentioned, but specifically I will like to mention, this is the book, Reena, myself, you have written. This is prevention. It is a wonderful book that you please have this book in your consulting so that you are, know how to examine and actually report. So these are the things. And just a minute, 2-3 slides. So does this law is enough? Because after the Kolkata incidents, you can see here, there is a lot of hue and cry. And the Maharashtra Medical Services Personal Services Institution Act is already there. But in spite of that, you see so many things are going wrong in the hospital, big hospital, general hospital, and still things are not going in a proper way. So government has to form the Central Protection Act for the doctors, and Union Health Secretary has already given so many guidelines, which I'm not going to read, but one or two important points, like there should be police jockey at each and every hospital. There should be safe movement, lighting in the corridor, or even sometimes in the middle of the IAVI can, accompany the doctor. Police post may be there. Then the passes, visitor passes has to be like in the Raj Bhavan, or any strict movement of the visitors should be there. And you have to prepare the health staff, zero tolerance for this thing. And we already, and the section IPC, suppose all this is not working, but suppose you are facing the any kind of violence, you yourself can immediately lodge the FIR under IPC section 3(1), I don't know, this section, and actually the action will be taken by the police. So these are the key demands. And we have the Domestic Violence Act, we have the POXO Act, we have Nirbhaya Act. Our previous speaker has already said we have the indecent representation of women. If she is, somebody shows the women in the poster in a very bad this thing, so that is also there. And this is the last, that this is a wonderful book which I gave this in the government of UK and USA. I think that the violence is much more. So this sexual harassment survey it is very interesting findings, and actually it gives lot of insight how a policymaker should actually work on this. So, and this is last slide. Even RCOD, the Renee Tucker has said there is an increasing unacceptable level of bullying and harassment, sexual harassment reported by the staff. So this is the position in the RCO. So I think with this, I'm just going to. So safety begins with the teamwork. We all should respect, make an environment of very safe and respect to each other doctors, and we have to improve the status. All these things are said repeatedly. And thou shall not be a victim, thou shall not be a perpetrator, but above all, thou shall not be a bystander. So you have to take action as we all are taking. Thank you very much for your patient listening.
Thank you, Dr. Mandakini Madam, for the informative and beautiful talk on women's safety at workplace and strategies for prevention of violence, and giving us some valid pointers as to how safety can be ensured at the workplace for women. So right now, I would just want to take 1 minute to introduce the chairpersons for the second session, which is Dr. Vijaya Babre Madam and Dr. Dhaval Belvi Sir. Dr. Vijaya Babre Madam is the Associate Professor and Head of Unit at GGMC and JJ Hospitals, Mumbai. She is a consultant at Kimaya Clinic, Surya Hospitals, Zen Hospitals, and Acme Hospital. And she is also the member of Institutional Ethical Committee of GCMS MCKEM Hospital. And Dr. Dhaval Belvi Sir, he is MS MC MRCPI consultant Obgyn at Dr. Belvi's Nandini Hospital, and he is faculty at BDBA Hospital, Kandivali. I would now like to invite Dr. Dhaval Belvi Sir for the second talk of the second session. Thank you.
Thank you, Ishita, for that kind introduction. Without taking any further time, I would like to welcome and invite and introduce our next speaker. Our next speaker is also someone who doesn't need any introduction, to be honest. Dr. Geeta Balsarkar, Madam, at present Secretary of our own Mumbai Obstetric Gynec Society. She is Professor and Unit Head at Wadia Hospital and has been Editor-in-Chief and now Editor Emeritus of the Journal of Obstetrics and Gynecology of India. Over to you, Madam. The virtual dais is yours.
We have heard the previous speakers, Dr. Durusha, speak on how women doctors were and how we have progressed over the next 2 decades. and out Dr. Mandakini Meg, from Dr. Mandakini Meg, how we can manage safetier workplace. I am going to speak today about a very small topic, compared to that, a very small topic on 5 tips to empower women in any organization. The organization can be your home, it can be your clinic, it can be your hospital, it can be any small organization, how to empower women in that organization. We all agree that there is disproportionate distribution of men and women in any organization. It is never 50-50%. Sometimes there are more men than women in any organizations. Nowadays, compared to what it was about last 10 to 15 years, we find more and more women coming to workplace. Women are better work-life balance seekers. Men tend to work more at workplace and do less at home, but women have to distribute their work equally at workplace as well as at home. Therefore, they need better work-life balance. Fewer women than men enter very senior positions. First of all, they are reluctant. They don't have support from home. And secondly, they don't have the confidence. Many of them don't accept it. I have an example of my own aunt who was promoted to become from a teacher, she was promoted to become a principal, but because she has already reached 50-55 years, she was not confident she'll be able to handle that and home as well. So she just denied that particular promotion. So fewer women enter senior positions, but there is a positive trend in any woman entering the organization over a period of years. But remember, hard work of both men and women in the profession are required for this, but to empower women at workplace. So the first and the most important thing is to fight the gender gap. From 2009 to 2023, less than 1/3 of the senior and middle management positions are held by women. The rest are 2/3 are held by men. The pay gap in the BBC in UK is to the tune of 44%. I'm not even talking about India here. In UK, it is the pay gap is, and the gender gap is about 44%. The gender pay gap is 18.1% for all workers and 9.4 workers for the staff, full-time staff. There are various strategies to cut the gender pay gap. We have to stop salary history reveal, ask for transparency from the owner or the person who gives a salary, and we have to design a path to action. It is not that the woman work less than a man. The woman does in fact more work, works at home as well as the office, and there should not be any pay gap. We have to measure and celebrate progress. Awards, events, newsletters, we have to celebrate. Very often when anything wrong or happens to a woman or a divorce or anything happens, many people talk about it, but few people celebrate success of that particular woman. What needs to change and what areas needs to be tackled, we have to think about it, and we have to take every single opportunity to measure and celebrate progress. We have to provide, third point is we have to provide meaningful mentorships and sponsorships, practical support from the peers and the senior colleagues, support from before and after the career breaks. If at all they are going to take any career break, then support before as well as after, and not have a guilt feeling about it. The company culture is a key factor is in maintaining their ambitions. Once they take a break, fewer women come back to the company again to work. Most of them lose their confidence and feel they cannot keep up with what has happened, and they tend to fall out. Create and advocate women returnships. Identify barriers to women fulfilling their own ambitions. Impact of the career breaks on their women. Induction of training programs for women returning to work after break. It is known as returnships. We have to have certain positions for working women, working moms, working returners, or revisited, or there are lots of other advocacy we need to do for women who come and join work after taking a break, be it maternity break, be it break for upbringing of children, or any other form of career break. We have to hold united front against discrimination. Dr. Meg just said we should not turn a blind eye or minimize behavior that is discriminatory, unethical, or disrespectful. Women holding positions, we should be bold enough to prevent all these particular behaviors, bad behaviors, no tolerance to wrong behaviors, even if it doesn't affect us. Most of the time, what we feel, it doesn't affect me. So why should I talk about it? No, if it is a wrong behavior, you have to talk about it. So there are a lot of constraints in women empowerment. There is lack of education. Education, by education, I don't mean formal education. I mean education of prevention to violence against women. There is a traditional view which limits participation, financial constraints, family responsibilities, low mobility, low ability to bear the risk, low social status, and conflicts among women groups themselves. Most of the time, if you see who does maximum harm to a woman, it's another woman. There are so much fight among women. They all the time they're waiting to pull the other woman down. So there are various ways to empower women, identify opportunity for their contributions. Whatever those small contributions they have done, we have to identify and appreciate that. Give them space to speak, provide feedback, offer mentorships, develop junior women for the roles, make introductions, protect the flex factors, close the payback, and most of all, be approachable. So, to conclude, women represent half of the world's population, and gender inequality should be there in every nation in this planet. Is there, with whatever is there, it has to go off. So we should have gender equality. Until women are given the same opportunities as men, entire society will be destined to perform below their true potentials. The greatest need of the hour is a change of the attitude to women, both at home as well as workplace. Thank you for a very patient hearing.
Hello, thank you, Geeta Madam, for the insightful and impactful talk on 5 tips to empower women in any organization. Thank you, Madam. We would now like to proceed towards the panel discussion. Our topic today is a little ignition. What does police and law say about violence against women? The moderators for our panel discussion is Dr. Supriya Arvari Madam and Dr. Pradnya Chengare Madam. Dr. Supriya Madam, she is the consultant obstetrician gynecologist and infertility specialist at KEM Hospital. She is also the national coordinator for Foxy Adolescent Health Committee and the vice president of Thane Obstetrics and Gynecological Society. I welcome you, madam. And I would like to introduce Dr. Pradnya ma'am. She is an associate professor at the Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology at LTMMC Hospital, and she's the secretary and manager of Journal of Obstetrics and Gynecology of India. I would like to welcome you, madam.
Thank you, Dr. Ishita, for the kind introduction. I would like to invite all the panelists. First panelist is Advocate Malika Majlis, called Majlis because she works with the survivors of violence. Can we have the next slide? We have Dr. Bipin Pandit sir with us. Sir has been the vice president of Foxy, past president MOGS, and has done a lot of work in medical legal field. Welcome, sir. The next panelist, can we have the next slide? So our next panelist is Dr. Sonali Deshmukh. She is working as assistant professor in Grand Government Medical College, and she has been an assistant professor at RCM GMC Kolhapur, and also worked as a specialist medical officer. Welcome, Dr. Sonali. We have Dr. Madhva Prasad with us. He is a consultant obstetrician, gynecologist, associate professor at Vaidehi Institute of Medical Sciences and Research Center, Bangalore, and is a national corresponding editor of Jogi. Welcome, Dr. Madhva.
Hello.
We have Dr. Abhinav Dilip Rao Deshmukh. He is an IPS and he is the superintendent of police in Pune rural area and has got lot of experience of working in the field. And he's been posted, he was posted as Assistant Commissioner of Customs. And we would really like to have inputs from all the lawyers and the police as well as the medical legal experts. So let me share my screen. And we have our moderator with us, my co-moderator, Dr. Supriya Arvari, madam. Madam.
Hi, Pradnya. And at the outset, I would like to thank the entire Jogi team, particularly Geeta and Pradnya for roping me in for this session, and welcome to all the panelists. And let me begin with what I do best, and that is my shairi. So this is dedicated to all the women who are, not only the women who are facing violence, but also those who are crusaders for, prevention of violence against women. कि नारेबाजी से क्या होगा, थोड़ा बेटियों पर ध्यान तो दीजिए. नारेबाजी से क्या होगा, थोड़ा बेटियों पर ध्यान तो दीजिए. बेटी पढ़ना काफी नहीं, बेटी को बचा भी लीजिए. बेटी पढ़ना काफी नहीं, बेटी को बचा भी लीजिए. पूछते हैं घर घर देवी को, जरा घर की देवी पर गौर तो कीजिए. पूछते हैं घर घर देवी को, जरा घर की देवी पर गौर तो कीजिए. महिलाओं के खिलाफ हिंसा है सामाजिक अन्याय, इसे मिलकर जड़ से खत्म कीजिए. इसे मिलकर जड़ से खत्म कीजिए. So once again, welcome everyone for this session in which we are going to bring a little ignition, जिसको कहते हैं चिंगारी. एक चिंगारी जो आगे बन के जाके एक आग बन सकती है, which can help women who are facing violence, not only on the domestic front but also at the workplace, as well as sexual violence. So it's also an honor to welcome our panelists who are not only the gynecology, but we have on board a police officer with us. So welcome, sir. So Pradnya, can we proceed with the slides?
Yes, ma'am. Can you see the share?
Yeah.
1 second.
Yeah, please do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you see the slides now?
Yeah, we can just make it full screen.
Yeah, it's full screen now.
Okay. Yeah. So, Pandit sir, being the medical legal expert with us, can you tell us what exactly we would define as violence against women? What are the various aspects that we would consider as violence against women?
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Violence against women basically is a violation of their dignity, their safety, and their human rights. The problem is immense and it's global, particularly domestic violence. Also, violence against women is in conflict situations, human trafficking. Sometimes all these things are considered as private matter, something that goes behind closed doors, but it's a crime. And the state has the responsibility to protect its victims. So violence against women is very, very, very common. And we need to protect this woman because most of the victims, they don't come out. And they are shy to come out because of various reasons. At least 1 in every 3 women around the world has been beaten, coerced into sex or otherwise abused in their lifetime. And usually the abuser is someone known to her. Maybe physical, it may be sexual, it may be psychological harm, including threats such as coercion, deprivation of their liberty, whether occurring in public or private life. Problem at workplace, as Dr. Geeta Balsarkar said. And in many countries, public silence and government inertia have ensured that rates of violence against women are often vastly underprotected and the offenders go unpunished.
Yes, thank you so much, sir. So where can we move to the next slide? I think sir has very, very, concisely covered whatever we need to focus on when we talk about violence against women. We have a police officer on board. देशमुख साहेब, नमस्कार आणि तुमचं स्वागत आमच्या पॅनलमध्ये. What I would like to ask you is, how frequently do you come against cases of violence against women? We do know that what is reported is the tip of the iceberg, but still in your experience, how many percentage or how many women out of say 10 face violence according to you and actually report to the authorities?
I think First of all, I thank you for calling me on this webinar. I think violence has different aspects. Like there is violence in terms of domestic violence, then sexual violence, especially the violence, what we call as a POCSO cases, violence against the minors. We are seeing increasing cases of sexual violence, especially POCSO cases, since 2013, because this act was passed by our parliament in 2013, and especially after the notorious case of Nirbhaya in Delhi, the registration of crime significantly increased. So what we are seeing is increasing trends in registration of crime, especially the sexual violence cases. And this phenomenon is seen in every part. It is not only city centric or in rural areas or state specific, but in entire India we are seeing cases of sexual violence against women are increased. But if we discuss in terms of statistics how many cases are registered, then still I think only few cases will be registered in a rural area, especially there is more tendency towards not registration of crime. And it is not only because of literacy, but a lot of social factors are also involved. Many victims actually don't come forward, and because of that also the cases are not registered. But definitely a positive trend is these cases are registered, and these acts are also very stringent. Burden of proof is also on the accused. And in 2013, because of the POCSO Act, and there are changes in the IPC, CRPC, and as well as in Indian Evidence Act, judiciary as well as criminal trial is also became very woman friendly. So like there are so many good initiatives or good changes which occurred in the law, like registration of FIR is mandatory. If you are not registering FIR, the police officer will face action against him under section 166A. So that acts as a very strong deterrent for non-registration of FIR. As well as there is good provisions like statement of a victim has to be registered by the woman officer only. Then magistrate is also bound to register under CRPC 164. He has to register the statement of the victim. Then medical examination has to be completed within 24 hours. Charge sheet has to be submitted within 60 days. So these kind of changes has made a lot of positive impact, and even conviction rate of the cases is also pretty good. It is improved over the years. In especially we can say in Mumbai or in Maharashtra, the POCSO cases are getting convicted in comparatively very frequently rather than other IPC or special act cases.
Thank you so much, sir. That was really, really exhaustive. And yes, definitely, the law is definitely in favor of women. There are so many laws in place, and that is definitely slowly improving the rate of at least reporting of crimes. Of course, we all know that there is still a lot of gap that needs to be filled. And I guess what we are doing today, or what people all around the world are doing today, is a small step in that direction. So can we start with the first case, Pradnya, with a
Yes, ma'am.
go
Yes,
step by step as a case scenario?
Yes. So hello everyone. At the outset, I would like to thank Jogi Foxy for keeping panel discussion on such an important topic, violence against women. So the first case, I request any of the panelists to take this, is a 16-year-old girl, ABC. She's been brought by her mother to the gynecology OPD for delayed menses. When the gynecologist takes the history, just with the patient, she reveals that she had a boyfriend. And during their, college picnic, he has forcefully kept sexual relationship with her. And he has threatened to kill her and her family if she discloses the matter to anyone. Very typical scene. We have seen that the consensual age has been brought down from 18 to 16, and we get a lot of cases of consensual sex at 16 age. So this is in the OPD, and she pleads the doctor, please don't inform the police. He is my steady boyfriend, and this is a mistake. So, Dr. Madhava, what should she do next? The doctor, should she inform the police or just listen to the patient? There is doctor-patient,
So, thank you for having me in this panel. So, this is like one of the gray areas kind of thing that we encounter. But as of now, it's very clear that the girl is less than 18 years of age, and you know, it does fall under the POXO Act. So even though, see, right now, if you look at this particular history, the girl is telling that it was a forceful sexual relationship. So we have to take the girl's word for it and record it verbatim. Now, this is where the whole problem comes in. When the girl says something and does not want to stand by her word, then that becomes a little problematic. But if it is understood as forceful sexual relationship, it is going to go towards a legal proceeding. So she pleads the doctor not to inform the police. I don't think we can take her word for it. We are duty bound to inform the police. And what next should the doctor? How should the doctor
so
inform?
this question maybe Deshmukh sir can take, that what is the best way that the doctor can inform the police?
In this case, it is mandatory to inform the police because
No, but how should the doctor inform the police?
doctor should inform the police about the minor with delayed menses or minor with the pregnancy.
So a simple call is sufficient, a written letter, how?
No. The call will not be a proper procedure. I think what procedure we follow is, it is a MLC case. So we have to make a MLC and we have to inform the local police station. The local police station is supposed to send a lady constable or at least lady officer, and they should record the statement of the parents as well as the girl, and then FIR should be registered in this case.
So this incident has occurred during the Aurangabad trip. She's come to me in Mumbai. Can this police station record this case? Is my next question.
Irrespective of the jurisdiction, case has to be registered, and even if incident happened in Aurangabad, this case has to be registered in Bombay as a zero FIR, and it will be transferred electronically over CCTNS to the corresponding police station with having jurisdiction in Aurangabad.
So everyone should make note, there is a zero FIR. Wherever the incident happens, the police can make a note of it. Dr. Bipin Pandit sir, I'm sitting in my OPD and I don't have provision for all these sample collection. I just want to get done with this patient. I don't want to get involved as a private practitioner. Can I just send the patient to the nearest government or municipal hospital? Will I be absolved of it?
Can I add to the previous discussion?
Yes,
the
sir.
best way to inform the police is you give in writing to the relatives to be sent to the police station, nearest police station. And at the same time, you have to make a phone call to the police station, give all the details and note down the buckle number of the police where you are informing. So, because sometimes what happens, you give letter to the relatives and they don't go because they
will not go.
The headache of going to the police station. So both ways you have to do it so that you are absolutely sure that you have done your job. This is absolutely mandatory and there is no gray area in this. Any minor case with sexual history, you have to inform because it comes under POXO. That is number one. Now about facilities, I think every doctor who is a first responder to all this must have there's something like a sexual assault kit or rape kit. You must have that. And through MOGS, we have few years back, we had given training to all the gynecologists how to use it. And if you are not sure about it, how to use it, then the best way is to send it to the government institution or municipal hospital with the proper details, letters, after registering the case with the police department. So the police lady constable can take the victim to so in her presence, everything is done.
Correct. Dr. Sonali, can you tell the audience what samples are to be collected? And it turns out her pregnancy test is also positive. So, and she, doesn't want to continue this pregnancy.
Yeah.
So what all samples need to be taken? How the examination? Who should do it? Whether a male doctor can examine or it has to be a female? What is it?
Dr. Madhava wants to add something.
Yes, please, Madhva.
Ma'am, I just want to conclude the prior discussion by reading out the BEAR Act. The BEAR Act of POCSO says, no medical practitioner, hospital or other medical facility rendering such services to a child shall demand any legal or magisterial requisition or other documentation as a prerequisite to rendering such care. It's good to inform the police, it's mandatory to inform the police, but suppose there is a situation that the police does not respond, or there is nothing coming from their end. The treatment or the care is not to be delayed. That's the point.
Very true. Even if the woman walks in alone without the police, so many times, in BMC hospitals, the police gets the patient and they have a letter that you examine. But even if the woman walks in herself, it is our duty as a doctor to provide her with the thing.
Also,
Yes,
I wanted one clarification from Pandit sir. Sir, instead of sending the relatives with the letter, would it be wiser if we send our own staff to deliver the letter? Or it
We
has
can
to go
RMO,
to the
we can inform to
relatives?
the RMO. We can inform to the RMO and we can
That
call the
that
police.
is also possible. That is also correct. The whole idea is to ensure that proper notification is done to the proper authorities in the nearby police station. And there has to be proof, so that buckle number has to be written down in your indoor or OPD paper properly.
Okay, sir.
So probably the message to the audience would be that those who are practicing in smaller setups with no proper institutional mechanism as yet should please roll up their socks and start developing some institutional mechanism so that all this happens very smoothly, because most of the MCGM centers, even in medical colleges, there is a smooth system, but I don't think it is there in smaller setups
Yes, so safe kits are available. I think,
At all institutions, it's available. Yeah.
Also,
what samples?
Just one point I'd like to add here. Pandit sir can correct me if I'm wrong, but some of the medical legal discussions, especially we are talking about majority of consultants who are practicing in small nursing home, who are not practicing under the umbrella of an institute. In this case, suppose patient comes in emergency with bleeding or anything and she needs primary care and you don't have time to wait for the letter to go and come back, then you can, on an emergency call, dial 100. 100, all the calls are recorded. You very clearly state your name, state the patient's name and details, hospital address, and all that will get recorded. So the fear in our mind that without making any intimation, if I touch this patient, I will come into trouble, that will also be allayed, and also you can then immediately proceed with the treatment.
Yes,
so
yes.
is there any wisdom to it, sir?
Yes, very true. That's the best way to call.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, Dr. Sonali.
Dr. Sonali, patient wants MTP, and what samples will you collect and how will you send the material? Because it's evidence. The products of conception. Anybody can take. I think Sonali has
I think there must be some issue with the net.
Yeah. Either Bipin Pandit sir or Dr. Madhava, can you take up this question?
See, when you do MTP, you have to be very careful, because even if it's a consensual sex history, afterwards, after 3 months, 4 months, somebody can allege and say, no, it was not that, it was a sexual assault. So all these cases, you have to collect the sample properly and send it for DNA testing. So at least it is preserved and properly tested, so that tomorrow if the court case comes, you have an evidence what is happening.
Yeah, but Deshmukh sir, my question to you is, so many times police don't come in time to collect those samples, and those samples are lying like that in our wards. How many days should we preserve, and what is there any timeline? Like you said, for an FIR there is a timeline. Is there any timeline within which the police should come and collect?
I think within 24 hours they can collect it. That's not a problem.
Yeah, but sir, they sometimes don't turn up. That's a very practical problem. So
Such
what can be
cases,
done?
no. Such my experience, such cases uh, where POXO is involved, because it's a very stringent act. Usually, police are very vigilant because it becomes a high-profile case. Sometimes the media is involved. So
Yes.
I think Deshmukh sir will throw more light on this. So police are very prompt in action if a young girl is involved and there is a POXO involved. So they are very prompt. Our experience, there is no neglect from the side of the police in this. Deshmukh sir, can you throw
There
some?
is definitely, because of stringent provisions of POXO, no investigation officer will try to make delay for collection of samples or sending them to the labs. But especially, I think this kind of problems may be happening because some type of cases in which incident happened 1 year back or 6 months back. In these kind of cases also, because of age, we have to register these POXO cases, and that may be the reason. But otherwise, if police is not responding or not collecting the samples within time, I think phone call to a police station or even dial 100, it will be a good option, because we have very robust system of now patrolling mobiles and dial 100. So within 5 to 6 minutes, at least somebody from that police station will definitely come to that hospital.
According to
Supriya
me,
ma'am,
these
you
are
were
all
saying.
priority cases, so there is no usually delay on this.
No, is there any guideline till which you can store the and how to collect? I mean, what? So I think so. Here I would like to stress that not to add formalin,
It'll
because
be
the
up to
staff
5
is
to
so
7.
trained. Yeah, the staff is so trained that they add formalin to all
No,
the
only it's
samples.
up
So
to, yeah.
yeah, normal saline has to be added.
Yeah.
Do we have
No formalin, it's just a normal saline dip.
Yeah, Advocate Malika Majlis? Do we have her? Supriya ma'am, you were saying something.
I wanted to ask Bipin sir whether does that necessarily mean that we cannot offer medical abortion to such patients? Because in case of medical abortion, we don't know when she will abort. She may abort at home, and then collecting the specimen will be an issue.
Yes. Ideally, if you want to collect the sample, the best way is to do surgical abortion,
Ma'am,
because
so
you will
many
use the sample.
washroom patients, even for in-house patients, even if you keep them admitted, they sometimes abort in the washroom. So I think so for POXO cases, we prefer surgical route.
Surgical management. Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So my last question in this case is, what is this patient was 16. So many times you get 18-year-old, 20-year-old, and then later, it's a consensual. Later they change history. You have not collected the sample because the patient is above the age of 18, and they change the history. So what does law say about it? If we have Advocate Malika, can she comment, or anyone can take this question? So what when patients changes history, say after 2
Deshmukh
months?
Sahib, can you also enlighten us how can our consultants protect themselves? Because this has happened, sir, with our colleagues. That
Yes.
that lady was actually not even underage; it was above 18 years. But because it was consensual sex, there was no reporting because it was not under POXO. And later on, she changed her statement because her boyfriend ditched her, saying that she was raped, and the doctor was also party to the destroying the evidence. So how can our doctors protect themselves when they are doing these procedures?
I'd like to contribute here. So,
Yes, Madhav.
so doctors, so basically, we are talking about the doctor who is, who is dealing with this girl who is complaining of, violence and consequences. So now, if you look at the training modules, our previous speakers have spoken about the training modules. In the training modules, there is a method of taking the consent. So in the method of taking consent and establishing the rapport with the patient, with the survivor, correct terminology. So in that, it's very clearly mentioned that we have to the healthcare provider has to explain to the survivor that this particular meeting is the best chance for her to get justice. If she is here to speak, to ask for justice for herself, then whatever she says now is going to hold good. And in case there is a change in her version, then the judges view it very differently because they understand that now there is inconsistency, in the survivor's words, and it cannot be held, held as valid and things like that. But it is from the healthcare person's point of view, we have to ensure that they are told very clearly that this is their best chance for justice.
Yeah. Deshmukh sir, would you
Can
like
I-
to add something?
Can I say something here?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
As per the MTP Act, if the patient is major and above 18, no question should be asked. Only her signature, you can do MTP. Now, every patient who is unmarried, you no need to collect the sample and preserve it.
Collect the sample and preserve it.
In the MTP Act, there are.
In the MTP Act, there are.
I don't know what's happening.
I don't know what's happening.
Others, please unmute mute yourself so that only the speakers.
There are indications, and if they write proper indication, as Dr. Madhava said, they cannot change their version. So there is no need to collect the sample if the patient is major. Even if she is unmarried, she has got all the right as a woman to undergo MTP.
Yeah, Deshmukh sir,
That
you want
can-
to add
see,
something? How the doctors can be?
That can happen in a married woman case also.
Yes, sir.
If you do MTP and tomorrow she will say somebody has raped her.
Very
There is
true.
sexual assault. So there is no end to it, right?
Right. Abhinav sir,
there
would
is,
you like to add something?
I agree with Bipin sir what he's saying. There is no end to it, but necessary precautions like making proper entries in your documents or register, or checking the especially Aadhaar card or some birth certificate to verify the age of the victim instead of just relying on the mother or victim himself or herself. So these precautions can be taken, and definitely the whatever history we are taking or whatever we are writing down, there are also some other staff is also there in our hospital. So in presence of whatever examination is done or whatever history is taken, whether it is taken in front of other witnesses also, so that can be mentioned. So these precautions are enough, I think.
Yeah.
So Priya ma'am, please take the next case.
In my hospital, all admissions, we take Aadhaar card copy and attach it to the indoor paper. All admission, not only MTP.
Okay.
So with the Aadhaar card, I would like to add that Aadhaar card is not a very valid proof of age. We need the birth certificate or at least the college leaving. That is more valid than the Aadhaar card per se.
No, as far as government is concerned, because in hotel also, if you book the room, even Aadhaar card is enough. Then it can be challenged.
Yeah, and if we do not have, and if we do not have any age
what you said, what Dr. Sonali is saying is something similar to what the medical legal experts have said. But the question here is, how many of us have our college leaving certificate with us?
leaving certificate with us. Yeah, if you do not have any evidence, if you do not have Aadhaar card, if you don't have birth certificate, you don't have anything, we can very well do the this thing, ossification test, the X-rays of the wrist of the this thing to confirm the age. Let the forensic medicine experts also, we can involve them and they can, get the age of the patient.
Bone or dental.
Yeah, bone, dental, your wrist and elbow.
Okay.
I think Abhinav sir has another meeting to attend, so we will first finish with the questions.
I think
addressed to him.
finish with the questions that need to be addressed to him.
Okay.
What's happening with
this echo?
Yeah. Ma'am, please take the second case.
Please take the second case.
Okay. Okay, so second case
is
has somebody joined from two devices or somebody sitting in the same room with another person who's joined in?
sitting room with another person who joined in.
Sonali, you have logged in from two
I think
devices.
Sonali, you have logged in from two devices.
Please log out from one.
Please log out from one. Just checking.
Yeah. So a 26-year-old female, married since 3 years, primary gravida with 7 months of amenorrhea, comes with a history of bleeding per vaginum. She gives a history of physical assault by her husband and mother-in-law. She has been kicked by her husband and the abdomen, and then Consequently, she has started bleeding per vaginum. She gives history of repeated demand for money from in-laws since her marriage. She has been physically assaulted multiple times, and her husband has, and she has also approached the police. He has assured the police of his good behavior, because of which she took the complaint back in the previous episodes. Abhinav sir, can you please enlighten us? How do we proceed? Because this is a very common scenario. Number one, they don't want to complain because they still know that if they complain against the husband, where will they go? They have to stay with the same man. Also, they have fear that if we complain, his beating will become worse or he will become more aggressive. So how to deal with this situation, sir?
So basically, this is a case of domestic violence. For domestic violence, there are two type of legal options are actually available. One is the criminal case under IPC 498, as well as with the, like in this case, there is also demand of dowry is there. So Dowry Act sections will be also applied. So this is one path, which is actually a criminal procedure. Second is there is something called as a Domestic Violence Act, Prevention of Domestic Violence Act, in which there is a protection officers. They can help this victim, and this case will be tried before the family court, domestic violence court, and where this woman or victim can pray for the specific relief. So normally in domestic violence type of cases, if there is a severe type of violence, like in this case, there is a vaginal bleeding and there is actual assault on the lady, she can register a criminal case. But in other type of cases in which there is no physical violence, but there is maybe a mental torture, then we usually prefer to go for the counseling first. And these kind of cases actually had seen a lot of extremes. And as Supreme Court has observed, in these kind of cases, there is a tendency to book lot of people unnecessarily. And so because of that, the Supreme Court has actually given order that no arrest should be done in these kind of cases also. So because of these Supreme Court orders, there is some previously there were some committees also which were formed as per Supreme Court judgment, and these committees were actually doing counseling also. So before registration of these kind of affairs, some sort of counseling were done, and after that counseling only this FIR will be registered. So this was the procedure, but now these procedures are again we are not following. These committees are now not in existence. But this is the dilemma for every family also, and even police officers also, whether to register this FIR directly or whether to give one more chance for counseling. Because this is basically a family issue, and many a times this victim want to continue that family with her husband. So because of this, every case has a different type of treatment. Every case requires some time also to because in counseling centers also some cases actually after counseling these issues are also solved also. So depending upon the case. In this case, I will say this is a very clear-cut case of violence. So FIR should be registered by the police, and the legal course of action will be the IPC 498 case with the Dowry Act sections should be added in this case.
Sir, in case patient still says when she comes to us that please don't make a police case, what should be our our position? So whether we are allowed to go over and above her opinion and still book a case, or we have to go by what she says. She is an adult, she is above 18 years, and she is facing domestic violence. We know that she is having threat, but she is insisting don't complain. What should we do?
No, in this case, I think doctor's duty is to register whatever history she is saying, but it is not necessary like in POXO Act. In POXO Act, as per Section 21, it is the responsibility of the doctor also, or even any person who actually comes to know that offense has taken place. In this case, it is not compulsory for doctor to give a complaint. So once you have registered history in these kind of cases, you should mention this is a MLC case. Now police will come and police will decide whether to register FIR or not, depending upon the statement of the victim.
Okay. So at least we have to inform police that this looks like a medical legal matter. Is
Yes,
that
yes.
correct, sir?
Yes.
Okay. Any helpline number that you would recommend where women can contact or the doctors can contact for help?
So our universal helpline number for police is dial 100 or dial 112. There are some other helpline were also there for women, but now with these helplines, dial 100 and dial 112, they are actually attached with the mobiles. Police control room is monitoring it, and the response time is much better than other helplines. So better to use these helplines only.
Okay. Okay, Bipin sir, in case of intramarital rape, how do you think the law will handle situations which is first of all so very difficult to prove intramarital rape? So can you please enlighten?
Yeah, there is one more helpline, 1091. I don't know how far it is active. Intramarital rape is a very, very dicey thing because many a times they don't come forward for unless they are going for separation or they are going for divorce. So these are very rare cases. But if somebody complains of that, you have to inform the police. Then the law will take its due course with proper examination and everything, history of assault and signs and symptoms of assault and private part examination and everything.
Yeah. I would just like to add in that in intramarital rape, we do not have section 376, but we do have section 377. So we can proceed in that line. Unfortunately, we do not have 376.
Okay, Sonali, in continuation, can you give us some tips how we can, prevent the recurrence of these offenses? Because usually domestic violence is something that, the person will continue doing it off and on. So how can we, as a medical community help?
So when we increase history of we can
Sorry, your voice is cracking, Sonali.
Sorry, your voice is cracking, Sonali. Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, we can inform to police and they can take the statement down. It is our duty to at least inform to the police regarding her history, and we should take the history, document the history correctly, ma'am. At least that much we can do, ma'am.
Okay.
Majority of the cases, Supriya.
Yes, sir.
Supriya.
Yes, sir.
There is some echo is coming. So most of the time, you need to find out the root cause of this, like alcoholism, drug abuse, financial disparity, and so many other causes in the family, which might be responsible for this. So if you properly tackle this problem will be gone. But it's not a job of doctors. Yes, of course, sometimes. Because as a gynecologist, I can tell you that we are like family doctors to that family. Because the family has been coming for multiple deliveries and so many operations all the time to you. So they have a lot of trust and faith in you. So they will consult, and if you have time, you can always counsel the family and try to correct the problem at the root cause. Otherwise, the police and other institutions, NGOs will handle this problem.
Right. Okay. Dr. Madhava, if this lady after the abdominal injury lands up with an IUFD, how do we proceed from there, and whether the punishment will be any more severe or, whether anything different than just routine domestic violence?
Ma'am, as we know, the modern science calls the fetus also as a patient, and the absolute rights of the fetus as a patient lies with the mother, actually. So it may be a little difficult to prove that the IUFD actually happened because of the violence, because there are a lot of natural causes also. However, as mentioned before, the physical violence, like, telltale signs of violence, which are a part of the initial examination, If they are corroborating, then that may be subtle. There may be proof enough. Ma'am, I would also like to take another question there in the prior slide.
Yeah. So the doctors, whether they're given formal training
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to come to that next. Yes.
Exactly.
I wanted to
So-
actually ask Deshmukh sir whether police are getting any special training to deal with violence, domestic violence, or generally violence against women, because now we know the cases are on the rise and reporting is on the rise. So are your officers or the ground staff given any special training about that, sir?
Yes, definitely. Not only in our basic training courses, but in mid-career training also, there are a lot of training sessions are going on for especially sensitization of our police officers and staff regarding new provisions of the act, like new BNS which has come now, as well as POCSO Act, as well as the new changes in the Indian Evidence Act regarding domestic violence, regarding POCSO, regarding case laws of rape. So frequent training are going on, ma'am.
Sir. And Dr. Madhava,
Dr.
what about
Yes, ma'am.
doctors? Doctors
Yes.
also need to be trained, right? So
Yes, ma'am. So
can
I
you
just
enlighten?
I'll take an extra minute to give a little background. So many of us here are dedicated medical education enthusiasts. We are all faculty in medical colleges. So I have done something called advanced course in medical education, which is like the teacher of the teachers equivalent. So in that, we were supposed to do a particular project. And in that, it is an educational intervention. I chose teaching undergraduate students about response to violence against women as the topic. And I have attached in the chat box a link to an accepted article by the Journal of Obstetrics and Gynecology of India, where I looked into the feasibility of implementing a quick one-day program regarding skill sets of violence against women. Now, the point is, we've heard the prior two speakers who have, done human service by, educating the, general public regarding this. But what about the doctors? The findings of my study was like, it is very important to start off at the junior level. Fine, teaching the consultants, great. But can we start off at the undergraduate level? Can we do it at the internship level? So, that is when the formal training should start, is what the findings of the study came out to be. And we can utilize existing modules. And we have actually written to NMC. I work in the NMC Nodal Center of the South Zone. And we've actually kind of, I've written to NMC through this, telling that, please include say half-day session on violence against women as a mandatory to finish internship and things like that. That's my take.
Yeah, I think that's, and not only for interns, I think even for us, those who have passed out long ago and have forgotten some certain things as we went ahead in practice.
Yes.
It's definitely now required, that we brush up our skills as far as these things are concerned.
And
I think the doctors and police all need to be on the same page, and everybody should do the right thing if we want to really help the victim.
Absolutely,
Exactly.
very true.
And if I can just take a minute more, your case one was very beautifully framed. In fact, there is a new module called Attitude, Ethics, Communication in the MBBS curriculum, where students are being asked to comment on such situations. Like, how would you deal with it?
Yeah,
if
you have
are
ATCOM. In fact, it's a compulsory question.
Exactly.
ATCOM module.
So, in fact, case one is very similar to ATCOM module. To answer your question, are doctors trained enough? Maybe the existing doctors are not trained, but the future doctors are getting trained. So that's where we stand.
So since Deshmukh sir wants to leave, we'll take the fourth case first and then we can come to the third case. So a female gynecologist is doing cesarean section for a placenta accreta. Patient has massive PPH, and in spite of all resuscitative measures, the patient dies on table. There is an angry mob which has gathered outside the hospital and is threatening to beat her up and, destroy the hospital property. The death has occurred on table. She has not yet done any paperwork, nothing, but she needs urgent help. Usually you call the police after all the, you have yourself, you were operating, you have not written anything on paper. Can she ask the police for help? Can she be arrested in this case? And, if the hospital relatives start destroying the property, what is the legal protection for doctors? So, sir, can you elaborate? What can this doctor do? She is, fearing for her own life.
So basically, this is a case of allegations of medical negligence on the lady doctor, and this assault on the doctor and the hospital or the hospital property. So in this case, there is definitely a protection given to medical legal in this for medical negligence, that there is a committee under head of district, maybe dean or some committee of 3 to 4 doctors will be formed in a district, which will examine this case first, and if there is documentary evidence of medical negligence is there, then only FIR will be registered against the doctor. So no FIR against the doctor can be registered directly by the police. So this is the protection given to the doctor.
So
Second
very
thing regard,
important message here, sir. Yeah, no FIR. So can they arrest her, suppose?
if definitely if there is a medical negligence is there, the case will be registered after the opinion of the committee. FIR will be registered, but now medical negligence is having punishment less than 7 years, so there is no need to arrest, and arrest will be not required, because this case will be entirely dependent on the documentary evidences. So there is no need of arrest also. So notice can be given by the police to doctor, and she will be called in the police station, or she will be given opportunity to explain her side, and these documents will be examined. So mostly there is, in these kind of cases, it is not required, and the cases and the sections are also bailable sections. So medical negligence, even if case is registered against the doctor after the report of a committee, there is no need for police to arrest in such cases for medical professional. Regarding assault on the doctors, in Maharashtra and in most of the states, they have local acts. In Maharashtra, we have a special act for protection of Medicare personnel as well as medical establishments, which is passed in 2010. In this act, the offense against the assault, any kind of assault, even intimidation is also an offense against doctor, against medical student, against paramedics, against nurses. All these all these kind of assaults are covered in this 2010 Act, and it is a non-bailable sections. Punishment is 5 years, as well as there is compensation provision is also there. So this act is very specific and very good act, but many times FIR is not registered, or many times because of negligence on police department also, police is not applying this act, and maybe non-cognizable offense is registered. Like in some cases, like somebody is threatening doctor over phone, or he has not actually assaulted, just came and just intimidated कि मैं तुम्हें देख लूंगा, मैं तुम्हें ये कर दूंगा, इस type. These kind of cases also, actually this act should be applied, 2010 Act, because the definition of violence is very wide in this act.
So my question is, what are the prerequisites that have to be fulfilled before a woman is arrested? Either it's a time of a day or presence of certain personnel.
Any woman,
Since
it is
this
not
doctor is a female, yeah, it could be any other female. What are the prerequisites?
for any female to be arrested. The arrest has to be done from sunrise up till sunset. So after sunset, a woman cannot be arrested. But there is exception. If a police officer want to arrest a woman after sunset, permission of the magistrate can be taken, and then she can be arrested.
Okay. Vipin Pandit sir, can we have your opinion on this? So please unmute yourself.
This is a very tricky situation when there is a mob violence, and Deshmukh sir will agree with me. The first most important thing is to protect yourself as a doctor. Protect means physically protect yourself. So what we advise, we get so many cases like this. Lock yourself. Now recently there was one case in VN Desai Hospital at Santa Cruz. Lock yourself, don't get exposed to the mob, or run away from the premises. That is the only way you can protect yourself. Afterwards, you can present yourself afterwards. In such situation, no doctor will ever be arrested on the spot. That's a Supreme Court judgment. The case will be, with documentation, will be presented to the team, which is headed by civil surgeon or by a committee, and the committee will give report, and after that only the police can arrest the doctor. That is the thing. But for the doctor's safety, they have to be away from the mob. What is your advice, Deshmukh sir? Protection, if your life is very important in such case.
That is the very basic and primary thing to protect yourself. So that I think that is very entirely different topic, how to protect yourself. Hospitals can have their own private security systems, CCTV cameras. There should be some mock drills. There should be some PA system or some alarm should be raised, and where all hospital staff can gather at one place when these kind of emergency situations are there. So it is very primary requirement for any hospital establishment that they should have system of how to tackle these kind of rowdy elements or how to tackle these kind of relatives. And I think some systems like not allowing a lot of relatives inside, or giving specific times to the relatives, not allowing the drunkard relatives inside. These kind of policies many hospitals actually follow, and in some of the areas there are very good groups of local police station with the local hospitals, like WhatsApp groups, and they also keep in touch with themselves. If any problem, such kind of problem is there, they should immediately call the local police station or dial 100, and police should be called at such
rush teams
hospital.
But what happens is when the mob of 100 people, 200 people come, all these systems fail.
Yeah.
Very true. So flying squad may also have a role. What is your take on it? Yeah, Dr. Madhava, you want to say something?
I want to speak here because I've had experience of working for a prolonged time in a government setup also, and now I'm working in a private setup. I see that the amount of money and the manpower that is invested in securing the doctors is vastly different in the government setup compared to the private setup. Because I think it's kind of, they want to, the private entities want to secure their own premises also. As a part of the premises, the individuals are also protected. Like, when a mob comes, it's not only the men that are beaten up, but even the machinery is taken away. So, in all these kind of things, somewhere the ones which are better secured are safer. Is the amount of investment that the administration puts in is something which needs to be looked into. Is what.
Dr. Sonali, your experience in a government setup where there are too many patients and too many relatives.
we had alarm system. Hello?
Yes. We can hear you. I think we've lost her audio.
Yes. So I think what she was talking about is that, like the code blue, code red, those kind of things. There is a new concept of code white where, the alarm system goes off, public announcement goes off, and code white says, in so-and-so floor, doctors are being attacked. So
very true.
I want to ask Abhinav sir, there is some terminology like beat cops and this bike squad. How can we get in touch with them? Because they are the ones who can come to the scene very quickly. So how can we get in touch with them if we feel that we are, or our staff or hospital premises is under threat?
First thing is, I think local groups of like WhatsApp groups can be formed, but I think the quickest response will be given by the our beat marshals or our beat patrolling mobiles, which are actually under control room and which respond to the dial 100 call. So average response time of Mumbai police is around 7 to 8 minutes. So in 7 to 8 minutes, you should expect the police at least. Police beat marshal patrol should reach at the hospital.
Okay, I'm sorry for the network, ma'am. Ma'am, in BJ, we had a system where we had this alarm. So we could just press the button at every floor and everybody would gather there. including the security guard, the medical officers. So we had a system where we could protect, and immediately they used to inform the local police, and the police also were very helpful. They used to come immediately. So that system really helped. In JJ, they have these local teams. We have these local teams and quick response action. So we have taken this also, trial runs also. Okay, what will happen if such a situation comes? Who will be pulled out? Who will come fast? All these small trials have been taken. So that really helps, ma'am.
Yeah, I
Also in
think an
private
lecture in a
practice,
private.
private practitioners also, it is a good idea to have your flying squad, medical flying squad ready. So
Yeah.
they can not only come and help you with, helping out medically, but also, they gather to give you moral support. You can show a little bit of strength. Most likely patients, relatives, somebody knows somebody as some other consultant. So IMA, AMC, all these organizations are doing a lot. Even our gynec organizations, we always encourage that keep a flying squad, which will, you contact one person, and it is that person's responsibility to contact 10 other people, and everybody gathers there. Because it is
So
not
even WhatsApp
physically
group will
possible
help.
to contact 10 people when you are facing a threat. So, that should system for every town should be in place.
And we should respond to our neighbor's call.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because
In
yes,
obstetrics,
we may
teachers,
be the-
no, first thing is call for help.
Absolutely.
Yes. So, ma'am, can we move to the next case?
Yeah, let's go to case
Supriya,
number
ma'am,
3.
please take the third case.
Okay. So a 24-year-old medical student is being harassed at the hospital by a senior doctors. She has mentioned that she has sometimes been touched inappropriately during medical procedures. She has been allotted more night duties and always given duties with that particular doctor. Also, she has been threatened that if she does not cooperate, her medical learning and surgical work will be affected. Now, what exactly are her options? First, maybe we can start with Bipin Pandit, sir. Sir, what should this girl do? Many of the women, I'm sure, have faced at some level or the other, the severity may be different. It may be lewd remarks by the boss to touching to, anything further than that and asking for sexual favors. So how do the women go about this? How do, given the fact कि हमारी पूरी दारो मदार हमारे बॉस के हाथ में रहती है, we know that our education, our degree even may suffer.
Ma'am, especially our operative work means
Actually,
everybody is
yes,
bothered in
yes.
surgical branches. Bipin Pandit, sir.
Sir, you need to unmute yourself.
Sir, please unmute.
This is not the problem of one particular medical school or any college. This is a universal problem globally all over the world at workplace. That's why this Vishaka guidelines and so many other things have come up. The only solution for this is to complain to the authorities, to Vishaka committee, and to police if this becomes a too much headache for the. But most of this time, these ladies or girls, they are scared to complain. Even when I was in Maharashtra Medical Council as the executive council member, we have had such type of quite a few complaints from various medical colleges that head of the department was troubling that lady. So this has to be very sensitive complaints, has to be tackled very sensitively with proper counseling and proper warning at the local level. Unless it comes out of control, then authorities like police department or court cases. That is the only solution.
Right.
And Vishaka guidelines.
Yes. Yes, Madhava, would you like to elaborate more about Vishaka guidelines and what different options are there?
Yes, ma'am. So I think in the recent many years, it is a mandate that every institution should have an internal complaints committee. And
Yes.
that internal complaints committee, there is a very well laid out guideline regarding who should, that is the head of the institution constitutes the internal complaints committee. What are the qualifications of an internal complaint committee, the composition, and these things are all happening, ma'am. In many institutions, on paper, there is an internal complaints committee. But on a practical basis, what is understood is, what is not happening is, most of the individuals, for example, this 24-year-old medical student, may not be aware of the presence of an internal complaints committee. even though there is a mandate that the notice board regarding the internal complaints committee has to be displayed, and circulars have to be passed out, etc. Somewhere that the end user, the actual student or the employee, is not aware of the provisions of the internal complaints committee and whom to approach, where to approach, how to approach, etc., etc. And that the person who is being harassed can actually be will be protected, and in a very non-judgmental manner, is is something which needs to be told to every person. So somewhere I feel there is a very crucial role for if we subgroup them into employees and students. Postgraduate students are both. They are both employees and they are students. In a medical college kind of situation, maybe there should be a vice dean for undergraduate studies or a vice dean for postgraduate studies who will regularly call these students and update them about their roles, responsibilities, and rights that
now
they can approach.
Now there are these mentor-mentee system for all the undergraduate and postgraduate students. So where there is a special set of students and they are attached to the HOUs or the associate professor, assistant professor, and then they can accordingly tell them if anything such a thing is happening.
Yes, and in the case of an employee, I think the role of the HR, the human resource department, is very, very important.
Okay. Abhinav sir, do you think we can get rid of violence at the workplace?
With increasing women representation at every workplace, I think these kind of incidences are going to happen, and these guidelines are very elaborative. But as said by Mr. Madhav Prasad ji, that these guidelines are actually not practically implemented, or they are not very visible. Even if you go to any establishment or department, you will not see these kind of boards anywhere. So I think for proper functioning of any department also, it is important. First is to prevent these kind of incidences also, and if such incident happens, fair inquiry should be taken place, and the composition of this Vishaka committee or internal complaint committee should be such that the persons who are doing inquiry, they should be also fair to everyone, and their reputation is like that only. Otherwise, there might be some chances of these kind of complaints are maybe used as a harassment technique also, because we know there are a lot of work distribution pattern. Everybody thinks, okay, I am not getting good work, somebody is getting more cutting, I am getting night duties. Even our police department, there are complaints like, okay, some officer is actually giving more night duties to me and not giving equal number of night duties to other persons. So these kind of complaints will be always there, but fair inquiry and proper display of these guidelines with proper display of their numbers. So I think this documentation is also very important. And if the committee finds there is a proper or prima facie there is a case, then committee should report to the police station that we have this kind of complaint, and we find prima facie there is something substance to it. So police FIR can be registered.
In fact, sir, that was going to be my next question to you, that how do you deal with frivolous complaints? Because, always it is a two-sided sword. On the one hand is the vast majority who is afraid to complain. And on the other hand, sir, are some mischief mongers who try to utilize the law to, better just push their own agenda. So how do you deal with such situations?
Unfortunately, there is no specific provisions against those who are making fake complaints or frivolous complaints. But definitely, we have to be very particular about giving fair opportunity to every whoever who is giving complaint, and the due process of inquiry and taking all the possible witnesses on record is important. But there is no provision in law which says giving wrong complaint or giving wrong information. Only thing is government GR is there which says if complaint is anonymous or complaint is given by the wrong name, pseudonymous, there is no need to inquire into such complaints. So there is specific government GR. Sometimes we see there is some complaint may be made just to defame somebody. And then somebody has done something or some allegations are there, but no particular name is written below, or name or number is given, but that is actually the fake number or fake name. So no need to no need to do inquiry in such cases. The government GR is very specific about it.
Okay. So next is about eve teasing. Is it a serious crime, and should women take it seriously?
The eve teasing is a very serious crime. It is in IPC. It was defined in section 354, and in new act in Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita also it is a very important section, and definitely it should be taken seriously, and it should be reported. Many a times it is not reported because it is taken as just as a casual, but in all types of eve teasing, like stalking or just sexual harassment, or like making some statements actually having some sexual content or something like that. All these kind of these are all different types of eve teasing are defined now in law, and they should be taken very seriously.
Very correct, sir. And often, by neglecting these kind of crimes, the himmat बढ़ जाती है. Perpetrator becomes more and more bold, and then might go to serious crimes. Yes, Madhva, you wanted to make a comment.
Ma'am, in the context of the internal complaints committee, like in my prior institution, I had a lot of dialogue with the head of the internal complaints committee, and it was mentioned that there are some people who approach telling that, I would like to have a discussion, but without documentation. And, so the internal complaints committee is, sometimes a legal one and sometimes simply a supportive one. So the fact that, not everything, maybe the survivor, can actually decide whether a complaint actually has to be lodged or no, or simply like by the head of the internal complaints committee or a team of the internal complaints committee actually gives the individual some methods to avoid further worsening. That itself empowers her to avoid further future situations and things like that without it escalating into a complaint and a legal process. And so a very mature person has to really handle the internal complaints committee. Very coincidentally, in both a much prior institution and my prior institution and the current institution, everywhere it's a psychiatrist who's heading the internal complaints committee, a female psychiatrist.
Ma'am, we also have a very robust committee at Sion Hospital. In fact, we have boards at various places, all the corridors, with the phone numbers of each committee member, so that people are just threatened by some people are not even aware. So by reading, people feel empowered that if something goes beyond this, maybe I will just make that call.
Right. Pandit sir, what about ragging of girls in college? Pandit sir and I think Sonali. Sonali, you are also in a teaching institute. How can we, put ragging under check? Or not only girls, even for the boys?
No, ma'am. It has to be notified. It has to be put to the notice of the head of the institution, of the head of this thing. We have to put the ragging into this thing. We have to notify the ragging. It should not be.
Sometimes, Sonali, it's very subtle ragging. It's not over ragging ki abhi anguta pakad ke khade ho jao. Sometimes it is like we talked about, that not to give cutting to this person.
Yeah, anything that is
make her or him do extra rounds, put him on call more frequently. These are subtle ways of ragging. So as the teachers, how do you manage this?
Ma'am, cancelling off call is also treated like a big punishment.
Yes, agreed. Yes.
Yeah, anything that is troubling this thing, it has to be notified. Like we have this mentor and mentee, they should notify to their HOUs and all, and then we can have a group discussion whether it was actually very subtle or it was not this thing. It can be discussed among the committee. the HOU, the associate professor, assistant professor, all of them can sit and decide whether it was the ragging was subtle or not something, and then it should be notified if it was not that subtle type of ragging.
Any
But-
ragging of any kind is a punishable thing. It's a
True,
crime.
sir. I agree with Bipin Pandit.
Because
Very
there
well
is no
said.
mild ragging and severe ragging.
True.
Mild ragging for a mild person might be very severe, and he might
Correct.
emotionally get traumatic experience, and he can take extreme steps, which has happened, like suicidal things.
Yes. Yes, sir. Yes.
All
Very well
sorts
said.
of ragging, whether it's mild or this thing, has to be punished and severely punished so that it gives a lesson to other people.
Correct.
Correct.
So I think Pradnya, is that the last case that we discussed?
Yes, ma'am. This was the last case, and we would like one message from the panelists to just end our panel discussion. Important 1 or 2 liner message for the audience.
We can stand with Pandit sir. Yes, sir.
Yes.
See, there are various types of violences, whether physical, emotional, sexual, and otherwise. And the only way to treat this violence and prevent it is giving education in the society, taking help of authorities and NGOs, and give proper punishment to the perpetrators.
Very correct, sir. Yes,
Very
Dr. Madhwa.
For the healthcare workers who are seeing this, not everything is visible. There may be patients who are coming with very subtle signs, patients who are coming with repeated symptoms which do not have explanation, with repeated physical problems or mental problems which have no explanation. We should be alert and aware that these small subtle signs could be the manifestation of an underlying problem, and we should be vigilant about it.
Very true. Yes, Dr. Sonali.
Yes, ma'am. Regarding any MLC, regarding any POCSO case, we should know that we are doctors. Let's not get into the depth of what is happening crime. We should first treat the patient, start the treatment at 0 hour, notify the case, and immediately start the treatment, ma'am. We should not delay on our side.
Very true. So let's have the final word from the boss, Deshmukh Sahib. What would be your parting, message for all our delegates?
My message is, I think many a times doctors, especially while treating the patients, they are more careful about the treatment, and definitely it's more of a natural also. But I think documentation is very important from medical legal point of view. So always give importance to documentation also.
Yes, sir. Yes. Thank you so much, sir. And I think if each
much
of
fun
us,
interacting, ma'am, with the
I
panel.
know. And if each one of us does our bit, I think we can, in small baby steps, we can inch towards eliminating violence against women. And also, like on at the level of
There's one comment which has come in.
and in our clinics, teach our daughters to be safe and teach our sons to respect women. That has to be equally stressed on, what we now refer to as beti bachao, beti padhao, beta samjhao. That is equally important, and that I think as women and not as men, as parents, we can contribute to society. So on behalf of the entire organizing team, I once again thank our esteemed panelists for taking time out and spending so much time and wisdom with us. Thank you so much, Bipin sir, Sonali, Dr. Madhwa, and special thanks to Abhinav Deshmukh Sahib for spending so much time with us. I believe he had other meetings to attend to, but still he made it convenient to join us. Thank you, Pradnya,
Thank you,
for doing the
Supriya,
entire
ma'am. Thank you,
legwork.
Pradnya, ma'am.
Very much.
She did
Thank you.
all the hard work that has been put in the slides is done by her. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
And thank you, MOGS, and thank you, Jogi.
Yes. Thanks to MOGS, Suvarna, Geeta, and Ishita. Ishita has also been working hard. Thank you so much, dear. And
Thank
over to
you,
you.
madam. I would like to thank all the moderators and all the panelists for the enlightening discussion that you had. I would now like to call upon Dr. Dhaval for the vote of thanks and the concluding message.
Thank you. As they say that we should save the best for the last. I think the panel was the icing on the cake, and we could have gone on and on. But all good things come to an end. I would quickly propose the vote of thanks. Thank you to MOGS, Foxy, and Jogi. Khadilkar Madam, Madhuri Patel Madam, Sarkar Madam, all chairpersons, speakers, my co-conveners, Vani Madam, Dr. Vijaya Babre, and our MOC, Dr. Ishita Pal. It has been a fantastic evening. Have a great day ahead.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Have a great evening.
Thank you very much.